The 2025 Logitech G Pro Invitational Qualifying Series is brought to you by Logitech G, Motorsport Australia, The Gamesman, Playseat, OG Gear, Max Pappas Innovations, SimSpeed TV, Speed Cafe, and the Australian Sim Racing Group.
Weekend in, weekend out, Motorsport Australia officials are making waves. From waving flags, waving cars through pit lane, or responding to a wave for help. Wave hello to new lifelong friends. Who knows, you might just make waves around the world. Ride the first wave. Search Motorsport Australia officials today.
Hi, I'm Brendan Leach, driver of the number 7 Audi R8 or MPC Audi Custom Racing. First impressions of OG gear on the sim, fantastic. It feels really nice in your hands and doesn't gather up under your fingers. The sock, very breathable for me. I get sweaty feet when I'm on the simulator. I know that's not the nicest thing to say. It has just the right amount of grip because your feet do just naturally move around on the pedals a little bit, and I like the way that they give you that freedom but also give you that stability that you need.
We are gaming fanatics. Our goal has never been to just play games. test, we think it's much better to feel like you're actually in the game. This feeling is what drives us as we create world-class gaming chairs. Our one aim, give you a brand new gaming experience. Help you move in perfect sync with everything on screen. Make sure you're having a ton of fun. It took us decades to achieve this, and we're still not satisfied. Every day, we wake up to get better. We'll never stop designing the very best to help you be your best. When it's all said and done, our job's only done if you're in full flow and focused on your victory. May you win, and win big.
Three rounds down and only one remains, ladies and gentlemen. This is the 2025 Logitech V8 Pro Invitational Series, the qualifying rounds. And we've been to the wonderful part of the world that is Canadian Tire Motorsport Park in Canada, to the Fuji Speedway in Japan, and then, of course, to the Hockenheimring in Germany. But we head back to familiar territory, home turf, if you like, to the northeastern region of Victoria, to the Benalla region, more to the point, to Winton Motor Raceway to wrap up this championship on what is essentially Christmas Eve for these guys, because there are 21 golden tickets that will be handed out tonight, which is an automatic invite into the big dance, which is the 2025 series proper, which gets underway in 4 weeks' time. 200 kilometres ahead of us here tonight, 67 laps, and we hope you'll come along for every step of the ride with us. Good evening, everybody. Zach Capen, deputising for Scott Rankin. More on that in just a moment. And, of course, Stephen Sandman Clark here alongside you in central commentary. Welcome to our coverage of what is going to be a fascinating night at the office. Sandman, we should point out, firstly, off the top, no, I am not Scott Rankin. Our fearless leader, our commentary team captain, if you like, has gone down for the count with some vocal cord infection. He's unfortunately, we had a phone call come in yesterday from him saying, can you be on standby, Zach? Every time he falls down with the man flu or whatever it is that's struck him, it goes straight to the vocal cords and the throat. If it was anything else, he'd be here tonight. Your other deputy, of course, the great man that is Bo Albert, he's been dragged out with real world work commitments. So this is what third prize and plan B looks like, ladies and gentlemen. And it is great to be here for what is going to be a tantalising night at the office. Sam, man, good evening to you. 3 rounds down, plenty of great stories to pick apart in all of that, but there's also some blokes ruining what might have been, and there's a few people very nervous about the 200 kilometres ahead, because essentially tonight is make or break as we go down to you in the Logitech hub. Make or break, win it and bin it, or, of course, if you don't get the job done here, it's go home.
Absolutely. And good evening to you, Zach, and everyone, wherever you're watching around Australia and around the world. This is the final round of the qualifying series. You need to win, or there's people definitely in the points at the moment. You need to win just to make the grid for 2025. So there's some people sweating on tonight, and I don't know that too many people will be impressed. Imagine having everything on the line and having to come to Winton Motor Raceway, Kelly Country, to get the job done. This is not the easiest of tracks to pass around, is it, Zach? So there's some people that have really got their work cut out for them. And not only that, 67 laps, 200 kilometres around this joint. I don't care what car you're driving in. 67 laps around here will wear you out. As we check out some of the strategy that's tonight, there's a little bit of leeway for these teams and drivers. Each and every week we talk about fuel and how they're going to go coping with their fuel, manage their fuel, where they can save time in the pits. I think one of the biggest things we've got to worry about tonight is tyres and that left rear. A lot of people are struggling. The place is hot. Winton, it's either Winton's either hot or it's cold and rain. Today we've got hot, and the conditions, track temperature is rising, and I know there's a lot of people complaining about tyre wear. So people looking after the left rear, there's even been whispers of 3 stops. I mean, if that happens, who knows how that's going to play out. Obviously, there's 2 mandatory pit stops, plenty of leeway in the strategy to play out, but it's all about tyres tonight. And then, not only that, there's people that are sweating it out, and these are the drivers that are probably stressing the most. Anywhere from 16 to 25, any of these drivers know that wherever they are throughout this race, that could have a huge impact on what they're doing for 2025, whether they're taking part and testing for the season, or if they're sitting on the couch and watching back like we are, and how this season's going to play out. So there's a number of drivers in this list right here that are going to be sweating about tonight's results. And like we said just before, Winton Motor Raceway, I don't know if that's where I'd want to be heading to if it was all on the line for tonight. One thing that we touched on each and every week too is the safety car. The BMW Logitech G safety car has really played a part in the qualifying series. And I don't think tonight will be any different. Do you, Zach? We've seen it take part in every round so far, and it's been a bit of a game changer. But you reckon we'll see it tonight, Zach?
Well, I think the probability would be 100%, Sam, man. Coming back to that with you in just a moment. Here's the lay of the land, ladies and gentlemen. This is the playground, the real estate for tonight, of course. 2 hours northeast of the Victorian capital, the sporting capital of the world. We find the nation's action track, Winton Motor Raceway. 12 turns, 3 kilometres clockwise the direction. 8 of those corners are to the right, just 4 to the left. But it's the points that Sam Mann alluded to a few moments ago, and what the boys alluded to in the podcast, which dropped on our platforms earlier today, that this is adequately and best described by the great Dick Johnson, the 3-time Bathurst champion, the 5-time Australian Touring Car champion. It's a clothesline at best. It is a narrow track. It is tight. It is technical. It doesn't necessarily lend itself to great overtaking opportunities, which means that it will be a grueling workout for anybody in this race tonight, least of all those that don't necessarily perform well in qualifying. Pictures coming in from the circuit now for you. 29 degrees the ambient, 54 the on-track temperature, partly cloudy conditions, 15% humidity and 2 km/h northerly winds. Sam Mann, of course, it's the only Australian circuit on the qualifying tour. You couldn't pick a more technical or challenging one than this, I wouldn't imagine. What interests me is your thoughts on how to go about your business tonight, because based on what you were saying there, that 16 to 25 area on the points table is cutthroat. And there's the lay of the land for tonight too, folks. The fuel tank capacity is restricted to 70%. There are 2 compulsory pit stops, 67 laps, 201 kilometres is the race distance, and it's on the nose, 201. And qualifying, because of the nature of the size of the field and the circuit, is going to be split into 2 groups of equal proportion and 15 minutes in length. I want to get your thoughts on a couple of things here, Sam, man. There's the championship standings. Firstly, Jacob O'Reilly, 500, Brenton Hobson, 490, Matthew Bowler on 466 points. What you see there too, folks, are 3 different teams in the top 3. 460 for Sebastian Vandel, and then Andre Youssef, 438. Brian Borg for Racecraft Simulations on 436, just 4 points clear of Hayden Veld. Wayne Burke, who was unlucky, of course, picking up a 30-second penalty, and that was one that snatched victory out of his grasp in Canada at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park a few weeks ago. Damon Woods in 9th place, 416, and Dylan O'Shea, 400. Based on what Sam Mann's been saying in the pre-race here, those 10, they're here just to go through the motions and secure that golden ticket. It's where it gets interesting is here. The guys that are on the bubble, Lachlan Capel down to Christopher Island. Poor qualifying, getting involved in an incident, picking up a penalty, getting caught up in, getting boxed in a matter of speaking, Sam Mann. All those different factors are probable tonight and possible. Safety car probability 100% based on what we've seen in the previous 3 rounds as well. Those guys will be sweating bricks for the next couple of hours, I'd imagine.
Absolutely. And when you talk about safety car, the thing that makes me think about how that's going to make an appearance tonight is probably desperation. And it may come from the people that we're looking at on screen right now. They know that they're on the bubble and they need to make every point count. And like you said, when we come to Winton, you almost get a feel where it's almost a single file racetrack, isn't it? In some parts, it's very difficult to overtake. So For these drivers and teams, their preparation had to start last week. If they were on the bubble and they haven't got their stuff sorted out tonight, I mean, they're in trouble because it's not one of the easiest racetracks on the circuit. But knowing what's on the line and knowing that they have to perform tonight, that's key. So I'm hoping that a lot of these drivers that are on the bubble really have a decent car and maybe a bit of racing luck as well to go their way.
And for a variety of different reasons, there are a few drivers that are in that field of 10 there that we've just highlighted that you wouldn't necessarily expect to be there. All being fair and equal, circumstances just haven't exactly fallen their way throughout the first 3 weeks. And there's also a few names missing from the grid tonight too, ladies and gentlemen. We should point out no Damon Mulqueen, no Richie Stenaway or Andre Heimgartner, no Ryan Bettis, no Greg Favell, no Ryan Campbell, no Tom Freer. My thoughts with Ryan Campbell, at least, is that he's a name that I would underline as one that we might see in the Logitech Pro Invitational Series. Oh, we believe he's just actually came into the server. Yes, just arrived, just as we've gone on air. So that's news that's coming into my ear. There he is on screen in the Blackout OPR Ford Mustang. I was going to say, whether he makes the cut tonight or not, there's a guy that I'm underlining as one to watch when we go into GT3 mode in 30 days' time. More on that at the end of the broadcast as well. Risk versus reward, Sam, man. Let's talk about that. I think about Hyundai Excels, Formula V, Mazda MX-5s as 3 cars where you could invent almost overtaking opportunities at any corner on this racetrack. Supercars, absolutely no way in hell. You're going to have to get the elbows out. You're going to have to get dirty, but you run the risk if you get a little bit too aggressive, wearing the wrath of race control, which could inadvertently also bring your charge undone as a consequence. So for the guys on the bubble, there's a degree of, aggressiveness that they've got to apply to tonight. There's a degree of win it or bin it, but also they've got to do it in a way that is fair and equal above the line as far as the rules and the line of the law are concerned. How do you go about maintaining that urgency, but also doing so in a way where you're not going to then wear the wrath of a whack over the knuckles?
I think it's pressure. You've really got to put pressure on the people around you. And if you've got someone in front of you, you don't need to make contact and shove them out of the way, because straight away that's going to be a visit to the stewards. You know, they're going to be very interested in what happened. What you need to do is just be right there, wait for them to make a mistake and put as much pressure as you can on your opposition. And that's probably the easiest way to get it done. But, no doubt it's easier said than done. But when the pressure starts to rise and we know we're running out of laps, that's when we can see accidents happen.
Who would you list as some of the guys that are going to be unlucky here with regards to the first 3 rounds haven't necessarily fallen their way, and they're, as a result of that, staring down the barrel of signing up as a co-driver and a added value, high-quality co-driver at that, I must say, a little bit later on in the season as we now see cars enter the circuit for the first part of qualifying?
Yeah, mate, that list is long, isn't it? We were having a chat just off camera before about some of the names, and we touched on Job Stewart. You know, he's in a position where, needs to win it to get in. So, he's hoping that he's not going to be one of those hard luck stories. We touched on the absence of Richie Stenaway, and Richie was strong throughout the qualifying series. Unfortunately, real-world commitments and the round at Sydney Motorsport Park took him out of tonight's event. So, there's going to be plenty of good drivers that will be running around exactly like you said come the Enduro season. So that's going to make things really interesting.
Going to get some more thoughts and insight from you as the evening goes on, mate, and very much looking forward to that. You're watching Bradley Ratu on screen at the moment, folks, out there on circuit. This is the sighting lap for these guys as they get set to hopefully clock purple boxes very early in the piece. Bearing in mind a couple of things. One, track temperature is very high. It's off the chart. There it is on screen for you. 54 degrees as they hit the racetrack at 1:11 in the afternoon. That's service setting time, of course, ladies and gentlemen. Australian Eastern Daylight, the time zone that we're in for this racetrack as they make their way down the main straight. They're all going about this in an interesting way, Sam, man. They'll all have their plan of attack. They'll all have their own ideas. We're going to focus on Bradley Ratu here as we go through turns 1 and 2 and up over the crest across the old start-finish strike. It looks as though they've all fanned out in a way to give themselves as best an opportunity of getting a clear run as possible, and that's one of the reasons why we've gone for split qualifying.
Yeah, the one thing in qualifying too that these drivers will be revelling in is that they don't have to worry about getting these tyres up to temperature. You know, that track temperature and the outside degrees, that's really going to play a factor. So knowing that they don't have to prep these tyres as much for this one hot lap, that's probably working in their favour. But the conditions, given what they are, they really probably only have that one lap in it, and then they'll be back straight to pit lane to get on a new set of Dunlops.
The battle for place seat pole position is on in earnest. You're watching Bradley Ratu up towards turn 10 right now. Jake Blackhall, Tice Hodge, Christopher Ireland, Jack Andrews, Dylan Pereira, Corey Preston also out on circuit. So too Job Stewart and Daniel Benefield, Anthony Visma, Joshua Horton, Dennis Gaderick, Michael Tonialovich, and of course Ryan Campbell, all out there in this first session. Onto the main straight we go. We follow Bradley Ratu to the line. What will this first time be across the strike? Corey Preston's gone to the top at 22.868, and Dennis Gaderick and Bradley Ratu have quickly displaced him. Ratu to the top in a 122.853, now displaced by Visma, 122.8, 122.6 for Gaderick, and Pereira a 122.4. They're going to come thick and fast, but there will be a turnover period, I would imagine, Sam, man, whereby the tyres go out from under them, and therefore their best laps are behind them.
Absolutely, and you can already see there's Ryan Campbell was in the lane, so he may have got an off track there and had to abort that first lap. So he's straight in, new set of tyres, and off he'll go. But don't forget, as you touched on, Zach, this is only a 15-minute split qualifying session because of the nature of the racetrack and how many cars we've got on track for this series. We've got a split qualifying session, so that'll help these drivers. They can breathe a little bit easier knowing that they do have that real estate around them. But isn't it funny, drivers always seem to find themselves, even though they've got all that racetrack, look at them on that track map, as they still seem to find a point where they do trip over each other, but they're not doing too bad at the moment.
Not at all. I tell you what, if you're Emily Jones, Cody Deeth or Dylan Burst sitting back watching this, you're doing so with a wry smile on your face. You're very happy that you've got your golden ticket and you're preparing now for March 26. The rest of them have got 21 tickets to fight for over the course of the next 2 hours. We're going to bring you every step of the ride here, ladies and gentlemen, and we're very excited to be doing so on the platforms of the Australian Sim Racing Group and also SimSpeed TV. To pit lane we go. This is Job Stewart, and he needs a good showing tonight. If he doesn't get that golden ticket by virtue of a race win, it's curtains.
Yeah, and he'll be feeling good about that. When you can do that first run, even though everyone's just basically done their first lap, if you can do your first run and top the timesheets, that puts you in good stead because you've done a half decent job, and now the pressure's off you a little bit. Although the time is ticking away on him, he knows at least he's done a half decent job and he can go out and have a good hard crack at that second run.
So if the winner tonight, ladies and gentlemen, just to fill in the gap for you, if you're new to the series or you haven't been able to join us for the first 3 rounds, if the winner tonight comes from outside the top 21, it's the top 20 on points that go through. If the winner from tonight comes from within that top 20 on points coming into this round, it's the top 21. That'll progress beyond tonight and join the field for what is arguably Australia's best premier V8 Supercar Sim Racing Series on the iRacing platform at this current point in time. There is Ryan Campbell back out on circuit. Take 2 for him. What can he muster up as he gets it a little bit squirrely coming into the back end of the circuit, affectionately known as cleavage? Turn 7, 8, and 9 around the tree at 8. And it's going to be interesting to see where he emerges in the fold here, Sam, man, because qualifying is going to be, I feel, such a telling part of the narrative tonight because of all those factors that we've just spoken about with regards to the degree of difficulty associated with overtaking. How far back in this field do you feel is too far back to be a race-winning contender?
Oh, mate, that's a tough call, isn't it? Because we've had so many variables thrown at us just in these first opening 3 rounds, and the safety car's been a big factor of that. Some people just getting their strategy wrong and getting caught out by the rule book, where there've been people where, you think that they're a shoo-in and they're in the top 5, and then their night's gone pear-shaped, and then vice versa. There's been people sort of outside the top 20 and they've managed to salvage a decent result. So as much as I'd love to give you an answer, I think that's too tough to call.
All right, fair enough. I don't mind a little bit of fence sitting this early in the evening, but I will ask you for a race tip a little bit later on. Job Stewart, Dylan Pereira, and Dennis Gatter at the top three in the early stages of qualifying here. But this is only part one, of course. These guys will be flagged down at the 20-minute mark. There'll be a little 5-minute interlude before we get part two underway. As you can see, the clock says 27 and 38 seconds to go at this point. So that'll take us up to 8:35 Eastern Daylight Time. Green flag expected 8:45 Eastern Daylight Time tonight. 67 laps, 200 kilometres, 200 championship points on the line here as well. But they're only on the line tonight. Everybody starts at zero again once we get to Sebring on that last Wednesday night in March, in what is an enormous week for the Australian Sim Racing Group, because the GT3 series gets underway that Friday night too. The final night of pre-qualifying already underway for that. So stay across the platforms of the Australian Sim Racing Group. And if you haven't already liked the GT Pro Invitational Series page, do so on Facebook. All results will be dropping there tomorrow afternoon. Dylan Pereira to the start-finish line, this time by Job Stewart's the benchmark at the moment, 1:22.422, 100th of a second past Pereira at this point. Pereira trying to go through and does, improves, puts a 10th of a second on Job Stewart. Displaces Job in the 35, 61's gone top. Dennis Gaderick, also in a must-win situation, has gone third in this opening stage of qualifying. Michael Talianic is fourth and Josh Horton fifth. And there's .456 covering the top five at the moment, which is a surprisingly big margin as Job Stewart wedges himself in between Dylan Pereira and Dennis Gaderick at this point.
Yeah, and look, we're talking, what is this? This is probably lap two for most of these guys that have having a red hot go now. And what are we, just on 6 minutes to go in this session for the first group of qualifying? So they really need to think about how their lap's gone out, and it's back to pit lane and have probably one more red hot go at it, because we're slowly running out of time for these drivers.
What's also worrying, I guess, for these guys, Sam, man, is they can only do so much right now. The rest hinges on what unfolds, what transpires in that second part of qualifying, and there is some serious heavyweight credentials awaiting in pit lane at the moment, waiting feverishly for their chance to get out there and turn wheels in anger. Not least our good mate Brenton Hobson, Glenn Postlethwaite, who's very familiar with Winton, real world and virtual, Ryan Jones, who's been impressive in this series so far, among others. Sean McNamara, who was, of course, the OG gear hard charger last week, and Andre Youssef too.
It's nerve-wracking for these drivers when they know what's on the line. We're coming to the final round of this qualifying series. The drivers that are in the bubble, or people that need to have a good race, if they're in this qualifying session and you have to sit back and watch the following 15-minute session, that would be nerve-wracking, because there's nothing they can do. It's totally out of their hands. They basically just sit back and watch and just pray that they can pull a decent result.
Cars now leaving pit lane en masse to start their final flying run and taking to the grass, even if you don't mind. And that might not have necessarily been a bad thing to get out of the way of Corey Preston, who was flying through at the start of a hot lap. You don't want to impede somebody in qualifying, because that too could bring you before the stewards.
Absolutely. You could have more trouble than you want before your night even starts off. You know, we've had drivers where they've had to start races from pit lane. So the best thing to do is, although it doesn't look the best sometimes, is just to get right off the racetrack, get out of the way and try not to impede anyone. No one does it deliberately, but, you know, there's some people that you'd much rather just get right out of the way than be in a position where you might be, you know, visiting the steward's office.
If we've got anyone tuning in the United States via our platforms this evening, or this morning your time, let me put the degrees Celsius into Fahrenheit terms for you. 85 degrees Fahrenheit is the ambient, 130 Fahrenheit is the track temp right now. So to put it into international terms, and Jay's done it beautifully on the right-hand side of the screen, yes, it is stiflingly hot out there at the moment. Dylan Pereira, Job Stewart, Dennis Gaderick. Job managed to trim that deficit to .029. That is very little unless he can find a way to displace Dylan Pereira. We're watching Ryan Campbell at the moment, currently sitting 13th in the running order. No improvement last time round. It's a 23.502 for him, and he's out on another flyer right now. Let's see what comes of this lap And we've got Corey Preston. I'm just having a look here as well. Just moving up the totem pole. I apologise, boys. I've had the timing screen freeze at my end. So you're right. Corey Preston, I'll look at the live timing that's going out via our broadcast feed rather than the timing screen internally. I'll refresh that in a moment, see if that does the trick. Corey Preston has wedged himself up there onto the outside of the second row. And that's, of course, provisionally 0.291 off the pace. Talianic now back to 5th and Horton is 6th. And Blackhall into 7th. Visma, Hodge and Ratu, who was one of the early pace setters, has slotted back into the outside of the 5th row provisionally at this point. There is just 2.25 minutes before this session will be flagged.
Yeah, a lot of these drivers now know that it's they really need to shine now because there's not enough time to finish this hot lap, get back to pit lane. It'd be very, very close as far as trying to make another lap and getting it done. But I think these drivers now either finish their lap and get on with it or make a quick dart to pit lane if things haven't gone right. And you can see actually in the background there are a number of drivers that are actually doing that. They're going to put on a set of tyres, abort that lap and try to quickly get out and around and see if they can sneak one more in.
Quickly, Pereira, Stewart, Gaderick, Preston, Talianic, Horton and Campbell are all on pit road at the moment. We go and pick up Tice Hodge at the moment. Jake Blackhall's just slotted up into the top 5. Displaced Michael Talianic. Blackhall to 5th in car 97 and 0.341 off the pace. Really, you want to be in the top 10 here tonight. You do not want to be trying to make your way through this field from 20th or beyond. It just gets harder the more traffic you got to contend with as the evening plays out. And that is Tice Hodge in car number 85. On screen at the moment, going through the 7, 8 and 9 section, the long sweeping hairpins right, left and right, and now on the run up to where the old circuit and the new circuit collide. The old circuit continues on straight, the new circuit, the extension of the configuration which came in the late 90s, heads left up the back straight to turn 11. Last gasp effort here, boys. 33 seconds on the clock. So if you get back to the strike in the next 30 seconds, go and have another lap. And Hodge might need that after a little mistake going into 11. No, he's bailed out of it altogether.
Yeah, he had a moment there under brake, so he's aborted that. And with 20 seconds on the clock, that's his session over. So we check Jack Andrews on screen too. He's now having a red hot go. He's on his last lap. And that's where a lot of these drivers are at now. If they haven't been able to make anything of it now, it's pretty much too late. You're going to head back to pit lane and you're going to become a bit of a spectator for the next session.
Indeed you are. And there's absolutely nothing you can do. Everything for that next 15 minutes is beyond your control. You are literally waiting to see what your opponents around you can muster up and then planning your night, your strategy for the next 67 laps rather, around that. As we see Jack Andrews now in the 092 coming to the start-finish strike, and it wasn't the cleanest run into the final corner. Down the main straight, he'll go across the start-finish line, hoping to improve on 14th. I'm not sure he's going to be able to. Across the line he goes, 123.643, marginally slower than his best of 123.618. And we pick up Job Stewart now, looking to displace Dylan Pereira.
Yeah, I think he'd be quite happy with the way his session's gone. He's P2 at the moment. He's only a whisker off pole. When I say pole, there's still another 15-minute session, but that's what he needs. He needs to be at the pointy end, because if he was about 10th or 15th, then there's a good chance that would possibly turn into 20th or 30th. So he'd be breathing a sigh of relief, and he's still trying to get the job done here to see if he can maybe knock off Dylan. But I think he'll be grateful for where he's at now and probably can just sit back and breathe a little easy come the next 15-minute session.
Job Stewart, turn 11. The exit.
He's aborted.
Not great. He bails out of it. So Stewart's run is done, and that was a very messy entry into pit lane. You'd rather that now in qualifying. Get that out of your system. You do not want to be marking up the entry to pit lane during race conditions. Not only will race control view it in favourably, but so too will the iRacing server internally. We've seen pit lane entry penalties trip a few people up so far this season, Sam.
Yeah, absolutely. Thankfully, though, the session was over for him. Didn't end up in the fence and lives to fight another day. And now he plays spectator.
Synergy Sim Racing on top at the halfway mark of qualifying. Dylan Pereira, 122.322. Joe Stewart for Evolution Racing in second place. Look at that margin, 200ths of a second. Then we go back to Dennis Gaderick in third. And I feel sorry for Dennis because it was a tech software mechanical issue with the sim world that plagued his progress a couple of weeks ago. Corey Preston, Jake Blackhall, Michael Talianich. So Synergy Sim Racing well represented inside the top 10 here. So too Vermilion and Accelerate with Josh Horton, Anthony Visma, then Tice Hodge and Chris Ireland for DPR making up the top 10. So Synergy, Evolution, Privateer, among others in that top 10 so far. The Orbit Drop Bear entry of Bradley Rao to 11th, Daniel Benefield for 9.5, Ryan Campbell for Blackout OPR, and Jack Andrews for Phoenix Racing making up the running order at the halfway mark of this qualifying session. And we are, of course, here with thanks to the great people at Logitech G. This is the Logitech G V8 Pro Invitational Series. This is the qualification finale, round 4 of 4. The big dance awaits. 12 rounds getting underway March 26. More on that a little bit later. It's Winton Motor Raceway. We've got another minute or so before the top 50% of the qualifying field join us on circuit to set their hot lap ahead of 67 laps here this evening. And of course, don't forget we've got the grid walk coming up as well before we go into race mode. And that grid walk will be thanks to the gamesman. And we've already highlighted who we're going to catch up with tonight. And quite appropriately, Sam, man, we're going to focus on those that are on the bubble.
Absolutely, and that's where the pressure is, isn't it, for these guys? Imagine being right there and knowing that everything is on the line tonight. So not only will they be nervous in the qualifying session, they'll be nervous chatting to us, knowing that, where they qualify is going to be play a big part on what possibly could be tonight's result. And it's all about whether you're taking part for 2025. You're either on the grid or you're sitting on the couch. And I know where all of these drivers want to be. They don't want to be sitting on the couch. As much as they love watching their motor racing, they don't want to listen to us. They want to be on the racetrack.
Exactly right, mate. Couldn't have summed it up better myself. And it's important to note that irrespective of what happens here, yes, we'll have our class of 45. Of course, 24 of those golden tickets have already been handed out. Last year's top 20, the co-driver winner from the Bathurst week. Then, of course, the 3 race winners so far in this qualifying series. There's 21 more to be handed out tonight. And then for the rest of the troops, well, yes, they're watching from the couch for at least 9 of those rounds, Sam, man, because I reckon these teams will be very quick to organise their co-driver lineups based on the outcome of tonight. If they've got drivers in their stable up their sleeve, they'll be quickly assigned and say, put these dates in the diary. We want you on the grid with such and such as the top 50% make their way onto the circuit for qualifying. Now, contact cars on the exit. Oh, well, we knew the elbows were going to have to be out tonight at some point, Sam, man. I didn't expect it to be in the opening second of qualifying.
No, I didn't think anyone had expected on the exit of pit lane either. So yes. Thankfully, it was only the softest of touches, but not ideal prep. The nerves are already there, knowing that everything's on the line. But that side-by-side contact is always a little bit of a heart starter. So thankfully, no damage. They can just push on.
So Jacob O'Reilly, Brenton Hobson, Matty Bowler, Sebastian Vandel, Andre Youssef are the top 5 on points out of those that haven't been promoted so far in this series. You'll see them in this session. There's the replay with thanks to OG Gear. I wonder if race control would be tempted to have a look at that, Sam, man, and maybe issue a warning.
Absolutely, I think they would. Yes, there's a lot on the line, but you're only talking about one position, and if you were that eager to get past, you could probably do it on the outlap too. So, look, there's no one driver at fault either. So they may just speak to both of them and just say, hey, it's not on. But I don't know that any penalty will come from it, but it'll certainly raise some eyebrows.
Also bear in mind too that white line is no man's land as you're re-entering the racetrack. You're usually supposed to stay drivers left of that rejoined line, that yellow line I should say, not white line. It's white on some tracks, yellow on others. Here's Damon Woods now. Let's talk about the hot laps that are ahead of us here. Woods will look in the Corvette to set the early standard. by which others will try and match or follow. Of course, remembering that the benchmark time has been laid down by Dylan Pereira in the opening session, 1:22.322. It'll be interesting to see what that 20 minutes of time transition has done here, Sandman, in terms of the track and weather conditions. It looks pretty stable, pretty steady, but there'll still be more grip down on the circuit. It'll be interesting to see whether the top 50% or the bottom 50% have the better of this on the overall running sheet when we have a look at the results in about 12 and a half minutes' time.
Yeah, there'd be a number of drivers that would have had their eyes to the sky as far as cloud cover, but it looks pretty clear of what we've got at the moment. So no one's going to get that sneaky advantage, because we know how much of a game changer it is when the track gets a little bit of cloud cover. You get some more speed out of the racetrack. So, you know, if you felt like you had a very hot session and the second session was cloud cover, there is probably that little bit of a disadvantage. But thankfully, that's not the case, and it makes for a pretty even playing field for both sessions.
Damon Woods to the line, 1:22.527. So he's going to slot himself into third outright in the early stages. Ryan Jones and Jack Whittis quickly lunging up into the top half dozen, I should say. Brenton Hobson into fifth, Teo Sorono to sixth, and Dylan O'Shea to 11th. So already it's Pereira and Stewart holding sway from pit lane, and Damon Woods is the best of the current crop on circuit. Gaderick, his teammate Hobson, and Sorono the next best. Preston, Postlethwaite, Jones and Blackwell. Believe it or not, Sandman, it's 5 and 5. 5 from the first session, 5 from the second session in the top 10 after the opening lap of the second session.
And how happy would Teo be with that? Punches out his first lap, moves straight into P6. He's a driver that really needs it. He's sitting 21st at the moment, so he's outside looking in at the moment. So P6 with his first run, he's sitting there going, thank goodness, thank whoever you need to, whoever you believe in, thank goodness for Dunlop, whatever the case may be. But he heads back now to pit lane, new set of tyres, and he can really have a red hot go for the second run.
I'm glad you typed that up there. There's some other words that come to mind after thank, but we'll go with goodness because it's a family-friendly program. 10 and 3/4 minutes to go, and already pit lane activity. So Damon Woods coming to the lane. He's not the only one. In they come. They're happy with the number they've laid down. Fresh set of rubber. Let's go. Car wide coming into pit lane as well.
Yeah,
again. And car's getting turned, I think, coming into pit lane as well. Yes. Contact and trouble on the entry to pit lane. Can you believe that?
Oh, he's blocked the lane. It's nose to tail.
Andrew Dyson is the car on screen at the moment, and he has not put down a lap time.
Well, they're in a position where, yes, they have to head back to pit lane, but thankfully they can reset. So any damage that they've got into the lane, they can get away with it. But that's the last thing they need, that these drivers. We go to the OG Gear replay. Oh, big moment. That was a big moment. And now he's trying to rejoin the pit lane. Bang. Contact. Round he goes.
Whooshka.
That's the last thing anything want.
And then the rejoin trapped the other two, and unfortunately it was Consultina because everyone had to back up and check up.
And what
drama already, Sandman?
Yeah, our trusty man behind the scenes, Jay's just said that those are the two drivers that came together on pit exit as this session went green. So how's that for a little bit juicy? Yeah, that's a little bit juicy, isn't it?
Oh, Brady Baldwin. So there's a bit of breaking news here, and it'll most likely pop up on your screen, folks. Speeding on pit exit penalty for Brady Baldwin. So he'll wear the wrath of the race control officials and stewards as a result of that, and it's a black flag for him.
Yeah. So he'll just head straight back to the lane, clear that, put on a new set of Dunlops and have another crack at it. So not ideal, but this is what we're talking about, the pressure cooker. You know, everyone knows that there's, what have we got, just over 8.5 minutes to go. And yeah, so far, as we see the man on screen, Teo, he's licking his lips at the moment, P6.
And it's amazing, Sandman. On a night like this, you can feel the pressure, you can feel the intensity, you can cut the tension with the knife. All those superlatives and phrases and expressions and figures of speech come to mind, but the reality is, never before have the little 1%ers that make or break it become so important.
Absolutely. And that was something that I touched on at the start of the broadcast, that if a lot of their drivers that are maybe in a position where they really need a decent result tonight, if they haven't got that package together at the moment, then it's almost too little too late, because you need to be on your A game coming into these qualifying sessions. You need to have a decent car underneath you. You need to have your eye in, because if you've left it this late, you don't stand a chance with this field. And this isn't even the quality field that we're going to see throughout 2025. This is just going to be a number of contenders that get to make the show.
Correct. Damon Wood's still the best placed of the drivers out on circuit in this particular 15-minute portion of qualifying. Dylan Pereira has still laid down the benchmark, 1:22.322. We're about to see Teo head off on another hot lap. So too Damon Woods and Brenton Hobson. Let's wait and see if there's any improvement this time round. At the moment, Damon Woods third, car 56. It's looking the goods. Teo Sorono's come to pit lane. Damon Woods is off on a flyer. Brenton Hobson, reliable, experienced Hobo, straight up into the top three. 1/10 of a second, nearly 2/10 of a second off the pace, but he's displaced Damon Woods.
Yeah, Bowler made an improvement there too. Kirk Stenberg, well, he's now 12th now. Lachlan Capel, he's moved up into the top 10. So a number of these drivers, they're starting to get these positions made. Race control, 10-second penalty there for car 19 with some contact, and that's Dylan O'Shea. So that was probably a little bit of that. Wayne Burke, he's had a moment. He's trying to get back into the pit lane, and that's so easy to do. He's going to loop it again.
Debris.
He's just, and that's something that I meant to touch on before we got a little sidetracked, is that, when they get off that right part of the racetrack, they come and rejoin, and there's marbles, there's gravel, there's grass, there's garbage all over the racetrack. So that's going to make pit entry tricky for these guys.
And all over their tyres as well.
Yeah.
So that's the problem. They're contending with all these different variables and surfaces. And if you run wide going into turn 11, you're not going to have enough time, if you're going into pit lane at least, let alone turn 12, to get those tyres clean. So you're really at the peril of whatever the car wants to throw at you in those conditions. And Wayne Burke's another one. Interesting, isn't it? Because if it weren't for the 30-second penalty after Canadian Tire Motorsport Park, he'd be packed up and sitting back with a cold one in hand, watching everybody else duke this out.
Yeah, absolutely. That was a heartbreak, wasn't it? But the one thing that I was impressed was his composure. Unfortunately, we had to break the news to him live, and I think he handled himself really well. He's in a decent points position where I think he's going to make the cut. So, but still, exactly what you said. That's heartbreak when you know you had a golden ticket in your hand and it got snatched away from you.
I also have somewhere in my near vicinity in the commentary box here my own golden ticket, but it's actually only for discounted Specsavers. It's not for this caper at this point. Dylan Pereira and Job Stewart, 1 and 2. Brenton Hobson, Damon Woods. Kurt Steinberg's gone up into the top. There we go. Up into the top 3. So he's now the best placed of this second portion of qualifying contenders. And he's 0.179 off Dylan Pereira. Hobson, Woods, Bowler the next best. Andre Youssef now on a lap, but it's not a flyer, but it'll be the next time by that we need to keep an eye on Andre. Car number 900. The Vermilion stable very well represented out there this evening. This guy is another one that you'll need to keep an eye on, Sam, man. He's 15 points at the moment. Technically, you'd think he's safe as houses, but he still needs to go through the motions over 67 laps.
Yeah, that's right. And just trying to think, where is he on? I don't think he's banked on time yet, has he? No. The pressure's on him now, because what have we got? Just over 4 minutes to go. So he needs to get that ticked off before anything else, because if he finds himself with an off track or a little mistake, gets caught in traffic, it's going to make his night go from bad to worse. So 35 cars will, after Andre set a number here, have clocked a lap in qualifying. There is just 3:47 on the clock. The grid walk to follow. Then we go racing, ladies and gentlemen. But what can Andre muster up here? Can he get himself up into the top 10, even top 15, and then push forward from there over 67 laps? Strategy is going to play such a critically important role tonight, especially if we can, heaven help us, God forbid, go safety car free, which I don't think is going to be a discussion that we'll have to have for terribly long, but it's still at this point in time, before we go green,
Still a possibility. It's a long shot, but it's still a possibility. Yusuf is wide.
Well, this is
Yusuf
what
is
we're
wide.
talking about. That's exactly
This
what we're
is not
talking about. No. So he needs to get back, put on a new set of Dunlops and go again. 3 minutes to go. So talk about pressure. When you haven't put down a banker, we talk about this almost every week, is that it's so important to get a banker, regardless of if it's a decent lap or not. It's really important that you get something on the board because, it raises the stakes at the last part of the qualifying session, and you don't want anything to impede that.
No, you certainly do not. There's so many names up and down this leaderboard at the moment that you might not have expected to be so far down the sheet. Sean McNamara in 32nd, for instance. Hayden Veld, they're holding on to 10th at the moment. We're riding with him now. And look at the cars left and right that are trying to stay out of the way, stay off the racing line as they build towards one last gasp, one last crack. And Veld on the ragged edge at the moment on the way down to turn 10.
Yeah, Hobbo, while we were watching that. Yeah, Hobbo's now moved into P3. Wayne Burke, he's now got himself up to P16, so he's found himself a couple of more positions. Veld's had to back out of that, so 2 minutes to go. He hasn't got enough. Oh, geez, he'd be cutting close to get back and put on a new set of Dunlops to go again. But yeah, a little bit of movement, but still the top two in this qualifying session so far, they're the drivers that came out of Group 1. So aren't they stoked?
Absolutely. Stoked with the scheduling, stoked with the track condition and the fact that it was more to their liking than what it has been to this second crop. Carrera, Stewart, Hodson, Stenberg, Renwoods, Bauer, Gaderick, Serono, Preston and Veld. There's Ryan Jones wide out of 11, going into 12, hoping to improve on 13th, but I'm not sure that those last two corners have done him any favours whatsoever. Across the line he goes, 122.651 the time to beat. It was a 123.7. No beating it this time round. He gets one last crack, one last roll of the dice, as does this guy, Sean McNamara. Currently trying to improve on 32nd in the 9.5 Sim Sport stable.
Yeah, talking about leaving it to the dying stages. Thankfully, he's got a little bit of clear track, so hopefully that works in his favour. How's the top five, though? There's not much in it, is there? Stenberg on
second.
Yep, stoked for Stenny. He's had a bit of a shocker. He's had troubles where he hasn't even raced on his own rig, and we spoke about the difficulties about that in the opening couple of rounds, about how some drivers were caught out in situations where they couldn't race on their own rig. So thankfully he was home last week, almost had a decent result, but unfortunately got away from him. He's obviously comfortable tonight, P4 for the moment, and couldn't be happier for Stenny because he really had it tough in the opening couple of rounds.
Sean McNamara's bailed out of it. He'll start down towards the back of the field. Stenberg to the line, hoping to improve on 122.501. Doesn't. 124.054, but he's got 3 seconds up his sleeve. He can go again if he so pleases. Varndell's the other one. He needs to settle up here. He hasn't yet. Nor is Andre Yusuf. 35th and 36th to wait for those two gentlemen if they cannot get a lap in this final stage of qualifying. The checkered flag is out. The clock has expired. This is it.
Yeah, it's a sickening feeling, I think, for drivers when you know you've had a 15-minute session in front of you and unfortunately things haven't gone their way and you end up having off tracks and an ability where you haven't been able to put down a lap. I know it's not one of the nicest feelings in the world, but they just need to put that behind them and just see if they can get the job done.
Andre Yusuf, 123.045. Varndell coming round onto the main straight now. Yusuf's only gone 33rd. That was a tank slapper and a half of Varndell. He's going to go across the line, but it's not going to be a flattering time, unfortunately.
Woods has moved into P2.
125.629 for Varndell. Woods to second. Stenberg now back to fifth. Damon Woods has gone faster than Job Stewart by 0.001 of a second. They're the margins we're dealing with here, folks. And if that's not staggering enough for you, the margin between first and 33rd, Andre Yusuf, is 0.723 of a second. It is ridiculously tight at Winton. And the time sheet as well.
Yeah, Teo in the early laps, he punched out a time and moved himself straight into 6. He's finished P9, so knowing that he's on the outside looking in, I think he'd be quietly chuffed with that one.
Oh boy, are we any closer to getting a tip out of you?
Well, yes, I've already got one. I don't know if you want it now or when we go to the grid.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to put my money on Job Stewart because he's got a lot on the line as far as trying to. He's in a position where he needs to win and in. So I'm going to go for Job. You?
Yep. And well, if it's not Job, I just get the feeling that Hobbo or Postlewaite's going to muster something up here. Rather than going with the top two and something predictable, I just get the feeling that they're going to be up to mischievous tricks tonight. There is the grid for you, ladies and gentlemen. Dylan Pereira and Damon Woods, the front row. Synergy Sim Racing against Eclipse Sim Sports. And, of course, Eclipse have won the last 2 weeks on the trot. Job Stewart for Evolution Racing and Brenton Hobson for Synergy Sim Racing on the second row of the grid. There was not much covering the top 5 in qualifying. Kurt Stenberg was the 5th of those. Glenn Postlewaite just outside another of the Synergy Sim Racing stable entries. 4th row, Matthew Bauer and Dennis Gaderick. Good to see him on song here, but it might be a case of what might have been after that technical issue a couple of weeks ago. Teo Serrano and Corey Preston are going to make up our top 5 rows on the grid, our top 10 tonight. Hayden Veld outside alongside Lachlan Capel, another one of those names that we'll talk about off the top of the broadcast in terms of that 16 to 25 range, those that are within striking distance of being in or out of the big dance. Ryan Jones and Jake Blackhall from the 7th row of the grid. And from row 8, it's Michael Talianich alongside Brian Borg for Racecraft Simulations. And have a look at the margins on your screen, folks. 0.004 of a second separates Wayne Burke and Jacob Riley on row 9 of the grid alone. Row 10, Dylan O'Shea and Kobe Williams. Again, 9.5 versus Eclipse Sim Sport there. And outside the top 20, Andrew Dyson alongside Tyson Broad. Tyson will be hoping to get himself into the top 20 tonight. Josh Horton and Jack Wittes from row number 12. Vermilion, very well represented here in this field. There's another one in Tice Hodge on the outside of row 13. On the inside, it's Anthony Vismer, of course, for Accelerate Sim Racing. From row 14, Christopher Ireland alongside Bradley Ratu. Maybe that's will be that'll be interesting to see what happens for Bradley there if he can push his way forward, because that might not have been to his liking, that qualifying time. Daniel Betterfield, who had no luck last week at the Hockenheimring, up against Ben Faulkner on row 15. Row 16 is where you're going to find, if we go back, ladies and gentlemen, Brady Baldwin and Sean McNamara, two blokes that desperately want to have a better run than what they have done in qualifying. Andre Youssef and Rain Campbell from row 17 of the grid. There are some heavyweight names down the back end of this field that have got a seriously arduous task ahead of them tonight. It's going to be grueling. It's going to be taxing. It's going to be difficult. Sebastian Vandel, Jack Andrews from 35. Sebastian Vandel is 37th. And I'm getting the name Damon Mulqueen popping up on my screen at the moment as well. Has he just arrived on scene? Wow. Talk about cutting it fine, Sandman. Damon Mulqueen's going to have to burn from the stern, and I didn't see Sebastian Vandel set a time in qualifying there, so will it be a pit lane start for those two as we get ready for the Gamesman Grid Walk?
Yeah, we're a grid, I think, for those drivers, unfortunately, just leaving a little bit late, so that's going to make things tricky.
Indeed it is, mate. We're standing by for the Gamesman Grid Walk here. We've got a couple of big names, heavyweights, coming in to have a chat to us, not least Ben Faulkner, Brady Baldwin, and Teo Serrano. I'm going to leave it to your discretion, your better judgment as to who we start with.
Well, I've made my way to Teo. Teo, mate, great qualifying session, straight into P6 for your first lap, and then to manage to get inside the top 10 starting from P9. I guess you'd be breathing a little bit of a sigh of relief, considering that you're on the bubble tonight.
Yeah, it'd be a bit easier from the front. Just try and run my own race and not get involved in anything. Sort of not what happened at Fuji. So hopefully if I finish up around here, I might be okay.
How's the nerves coming into tonight? Obviously, it's all on the line. This is round 4 of the qualifying series. You, at the moment, P21, looking to make that top 20. How are you feeling? Obviously, it's a great start to the night to be inside the top 10.
Yeah, like I said, it's just try and run my own race. You know, if I run my own race, I should be okay. If I have an accident, it's probably going to be, my fault. So just try and keep it clean. And
preparations for the week. Obviously, the car doesn't look too bad around Winton. I said in the opener of the broadcast, I don't know if Winton would be the most ideal racetrack to be in these situations, but how's prep been coming into tonight?
Yeah, it's been good. Just hot laps have been a bit of a painful experience. The car's not very nice in this weather, but Zach's done a good job with the dock, so thanks to Zach.
All right, mate. Well, we will let you focus and get ready for the start. Like I said, inside the top 10, mate. You're not too far from the pointy end, and fingers crossed we can chat to you at the end of the night and you're inside that bubble for 2025.
Thanks, guys.
Cheers. There you go. Teo Serrano. He's starting out of P9 on the outside looking in. And Zach, I think you've gone all the way down to Ben Faulkner, unfortunately, starting out of P30. Ben's on the bubble in P20. I'll let you have your chat with him.
He is indeed, and it's a good thing that I've got extremely good walking shoes, Sam, man, because we're going down to the outside of row 15 here, if you don't mind, to find Benny Faulkner. Mate, good evening to you. How are the nerves coming into tonight, knowing that it's make or break, knowing that you've got 16 points up your sleeve at the moment in terms of being in as opposed to being out of the fight for that golden ticket, mate, but it's not going to be straightforward considering that you're starting the outside of row 15.
Yeah, I didn't have much time to practice for this round, so I was just hoping for the best. Yeah, pretty far back, so I think I'll just hope to stay out of trouble. I reckon there'll be a lot of carnage, so we'll see how we go, and hopefully we can get into the main series.
How difficult is that to try and stay out of trouble, but also place the onus on pushing your way forward, looking after you, and making sure that you do tick that box tonight, mate? There's so much to consider, considering how difficult a task it's going to be, 200 kilometres around a racetrack that is relatively tight, relatively narrow, and overtaking opportunities come at a premium.
Yeah, it's a tight track, and turn 1 and turn 2, turn 3, turn 4, they're all going to be tight packed, probably lots of bumping and probably people spinning, so just be probably just avoiding, maybe even taking some grass to avoid. So yeah, just stay out of trouble, and like I said, just hope to make it to the end with reasonable amount of speed and finishing position.
Well, the team, will they be? Vermillion's very well represented on this grid, mate. There's no doubt about that. Right throughout the field from top to toe. Just how vital a part are they going to play in helping you along here, strategically speaking? Brady, we're coming to you in a moment, mate.
You're right.
There's a lot of boys already in, so hopefully we can work something out. But I'd like to try and get in my own way, so there we go.
All right, mate, we're going to let you go. We're up against it time-wise here. You're gridding up. We're getting ready for a start. Good luck. Go well.
Thank you.
And even though he's made a jump start, Sam Man, in Brady Baldwin, I'm more pleased for him that it's a jump start in the commentary box where it doesn't matter than when it would be if it was on the grid. Let's have a chat to the man starting down there in 31st.
Absolutely, Brady. Mate, we've got the best of luck for you tonight. Obviously, a little bit further back than what you would have liked with the situation that you're in P19 at the moment, just inside the bubble. How are you feeling as we get to the start of this race?
Not very confident at the moment, to be honest. Obviously, our Synergy cars are good because we've got 4 cars in the top 10 and I'm nearly last. So it's a long race. It's Winton. It's chaotic. So we'll see what happens. My goal coming into the series, if I was going to be good enough, was to be inside the cutoff before this race. And we are. It's a bit better of a buffer than what I had last year. I was 20th and a lot closer of a gap. So look, I'll probably overthink it too much during the race, but we'll see what happens. And whatever happens after the race happens. If I make it in, cool. If we don't, is what it is.
All right, mate. Well, we're just about to wrap up, but we're almost going to go green, mate. All the best. Hopefully for you that there's one of the drivers that are outside of the bubble or inside that bubble that get the win, and there's that one more opportunity. So hopefully it's nice and clean, and we're talking to you at the end of the night.
Yeah, thank you. I do like James Stewart, but I hope he doesn't win tonight because it affects me a little bit. So no ill wishes against Joe, but hopefully one of our guys can get the win tonight. And have a good call, guys. Sorry for interrupting earlier, but have a good call.
Not at all, mate. It's been good to talk to you. All the best. We'll be cheering for you, buddy.
Thanks, Sam. Appreciate it.
Oh, have a look at the very nicely placed sign writing of the sponsor's product, ladies and gentlemen. Logitech. We are gearing up for a start here. 67 laps ahead of us, 201 kilometres The fourth and final round of qualifying. It's like the pre-season grand final. It's Christmas Eve for 21 of these guys, except Christmas Day doesn't come for a month. They're the permutations that are on the line. We've been through the form guide. We've picked it to pieces. What awaits now is a venture into the unknown. We just don't know what to expect over the course of the next 67 laps. Strap in, buckle up, hold on tight, ladies and gentlemen. Come along for the ride. The fourth and final round of the Logitech V8 Pro Invitational Series from Winton Motor Raceway. We're in the starters' hands. Dylan Pereira, Damon Woods, front row, Job Stewart and Brenton Hobson from the second row, and then Kurt Stenberg and Glenn Postlethwaite from row number 3. Set for a start, ropes rise, cars roar, let's go! Beautiful start up the line from the outside, and look at them, 4 wide. Trying to avoid a stalled car on the run towards turn 1. Damon Woods, Dylan Pereira, Job Stewart getting up on the inside early on to go to second, and Hobbo's already up to third. Dylan Pereira, the one hung out to dry on the opening lap as they sort themselves out. Single file the first half dozen. Ryan Jones and Lachlan Capel side by side going up to turn 4 for the first time.
Yeah, the elbows are out a little bit further. There's a car off the racetrack there, off into the gravel, so that's going to be a rejoin there. Jacob O'Reilly's got his work cut up for him. He's almost going to go to dead last. Someone stalled on the back of the grid there and fell back to dead motherless last, but now everyone's just trying to ease their way around this racetrack. We touched on how important tyres are going to be here, but how's the start for Job Stewart straight into P2?
Great start for Stewart. A good start for Brenton Hobson. The bad run of luck continues for Daniel Benefield. He was the one that stalled. I believe he's been able to get going, but there they are, boxed down the bottom of the order as we pick up further afield Ben Faulkner. And now we go back to our leaders. Job Stewart all over the back of Damon Woods on the run down to 11 for the first time. Benefield unfortunately went nowhere.
It's been a jump start by the looks of it. And then he stalled.
Wow.
Lucky not to get drilled, but you can see the car just leaked a little bit. So, yeah, he may be in the hands of race control. So, with that jump start, so it's like it adds insult to injury. You jump start, you stall the car, and then you're dead last.
When it rains, it pours. You mentioned earlier, Sam, man, the importance of racing here at Winton, and there's only 2 seasons. It's summer and winter. It's either freezing cold or extremely warm, with occasional amounts of rain thrown in for good measure. There's no in-between. Benefield transiting the pit lane now. His aspirations of being in the Pro Series for the V8s dashed, but he'll be one to watch when we go GT3 racing, mark my words. Through the back of the circuit for the second time, we pick up Damon Woods, Job Stewart, Brenton Hobson and Dylan Pereira, the top 4. Hobbo, he's always there, isn't he? And he always undersells his own potential and credentials here. He is one of the stalwarts of the caper, also involved behind the scenes with everything that we're doing here at the Australian Sim Racing Group. We ride on board with him now in every sense of the word, both on the full screen and in the mini screen on the right-hand side for Synergy Sim Racing in the Corvette, in the Chevrolet Camaro, I should say. Corvette, of course, their GT offering as they make their way down the back straight for the second time. So Damon Woods, Job Stewart, Brenton Hobson, Dylan Pereira, Glenn Postlethwaite, the top 5. Hobbo a little bit wide coming out of turn 11, and Job Stewart ranging up onto the back of Damon Woods as we come across the line. Also keep an eye on that right-hand side of your screen tonight, folks, because that'll be the live championship standings update for you as to who's on the cusp, who's in and who's out.
Yeah, well, look at how much it changes too. We see Kirk Stenberg 16th at the moment coming into tonight. Oh, is that Hobbo? Who was it? Hobson's gone into the wall.
Wow.
Well, he's had a moment just coming out of the exit there of the turn, and he's lost it. He's got damage to the front end of that car. Thankfully, he's in a decent points playing position where he doesn't need to win to get in. But that's going to make his night a little bit more difficult at the moment. But as we go to the OG Gear replay, didn't comfortably in P3, gets up on the curb, the car just sort of gets away from him. Yep. Lights up that left rear and makes heavy contact with that concrete barrier on the inside.
That is such a dangerous ripple strip and bit of curb. Every time you go through turn 2, the exit of turn 2, you hold your breath, because that can either allow you a little bit of leniency or spit you out hard. And it's just done that to Brenton Hobson. It's savage. It's claimed the best of them in the past. Hobbo can add his name to that list. It's almost like Canada. Circuit Gilles Villeneuve, Montreal's equivalent of the Wall of Champions, that Rebel Strip, quite frankly. Kurt Stenberg running 5th at the moment, chasing Glenn Postlethwaite. So I said that Glenn Postlethwaite, with that local knowledge, might just be a threat here tonight. He's going along nicely so far. And Andrew Dyson's pitted on lap 2 as well. We'll chase up the reason as to why for that. But Dyson runs 37th at the moment. Daniel Benefield 36th, and Hobbo now 35th. I didn't think I'd be saying that this early in the piece.
I didn't think he would either. So it looks like he's got a mechanical black flag that he's going to have to deal with in pit lane. So he's in the lane now, sorting that out. And as that incident was unfolding, I was touching on the live points with Stenberg. So just before we had that incident, Stenberg was in P16. When we started this race, he was P22. So that just goes to show you the impact of a decent qualifying session where he finds himself in P5, currently P16, and you can see the live ladder as it changes just with positional changes there. So 22 coming into tonight, P16 currently as we stand on lap 4.
We make our way along the short chute to turn 10. Lap 4 of 67 for you folks. Hope you're enjoying an extremely nerve-wracking edition of Wednesday Night Motorsport across the platforms of Sit and Speed and the Australian Sim Racing Group. We ride on board with Postlethwaite, looking back to Kurt Stenberg now. Dennis Gadevrick, an okay start, sitting 6th. Bowler, Veld, Jones and Cape on the top, 10 across the start-finish line. 30 degrees the ambient, 56 on track, so the on-track temperature has only increased since the qualifying session. Eventually, as this race plays out, we're going to be here for the better part of 2 hours. Eventually, as it plays out, we expect that to diminish a little bit, but then again, it is Victoria in the middle of summer, so nothing would surprise me.
Yeah, and the thing that these drivers need to be very mindful of, which they would have experienced in testing and practice, is that looking after these tyres. I touched on it on the Logitech G Hub that there's even drivers discussing the point of maybe thinking about a third pit stop. There's only 2 stops required in this race, but there are a number of teams that are worried about tyre wear that they are thinking about a third pit stop. So these drivers up front, they'll be very mindful of that, and they'll be doing their absolute best to drive maybe with an air gun to their foot, just getting the throttle down nicely, so they're trying to look after that those rear tyres, because they will be your best friend come the end of this race.
Let's talk a bit about that Andrew Dyson pit lane. He had we're just getting word through into the commentary box that he had a 10-second penalty, and he's come in and served that, and it might also be a strategic move as well. Knowing that our critical number tonight is lap 30, the longest you can run a tank based on fuel numbers is 37 laps. He's in the window to stop only once more and get home anyway, so that's 1 CPS essentially ticked, and he can push on. But it's interesting, isn't it, as we watch also coming on a pit lane, Corey, who was that just coming on the pit lane?
Yeah, Corey Preston. There was someone else as well.
And Jack Whittis as well. So some early games being played here, Sam, man, and that's led me perfectly into the next point I wanted to make anyway, mate. The reality of the matter is you're running the gauntlet tonight with pit strategy, because with 36, 37 cars out there, it's congested. There's only 3 kilometres. You either run the risk of pitting early, getting out of that traffic, or pitting a little bit later and coming back right in the thick of it.
Yeah, and look at this. This top 3 is a perfect example. The top 3 are covered by just on a second. Then there's a gap of almost 2 seconds back to Glenn Postlethwaite in P4. So with this field starting to spread out, if you find yourself in a position where you're not really gaining anything, then take that early pit stop strategy. That was something that we touched on again in the G Hub as well, that there is a little bit of a situation where you can have an early stop, an even stop, or a late stop. And we're hearing that there may be an engine drama for Benefield in the OGQ replay.
Oh, no.
That was on a downshift.
The bloke cannot take a trick. We're staying green, though, because he's been able to get it back to pit lane. He's got it off the road and out of harm's way. Daniel Benefield's night is done. His qualifying aspirations dashed, as I mentioned earlier, but they were dashed last week at the Hockenheim Ring. He's the first retirement of the night at Winton, but because he got it off the line of the racetrack, got it out of harm's way, we stay green, and that's good news for all and sundry. John Stewart still hassling Damon Woods.
Yeah, he's really putting this, and we were talking about this earlier, you know, you said, how are these drivers going to get a pass done? They don't have to do anything silly and stick the nose up the inside. What you want to do is apply that pressure to the driver in front, let them make a mistake, and then it becomes so much easier for you. You don't have any altercations with the stewards, you don't get any car damage, and if they make that little bit of whoopsie, you can just drive on right by.
Indeed you can. We're riding on board with Dylan O'Shea at the moment in 17th place. We keep our eyes, of course, on that 15 through 25 in the championship with regards to the bubble, who's in and who's out. Dylan O'Shea sitting there 17th at the moment, giving the car in front a big hurry up. That's Jake Blackall. Ambitious move. Hard-fought move, not yet pulled off and executed because Blackall up the inside running on the run back up to turn 10, but he's yielded. So that's nicely done from Dylan O'Shea up to 16th. Next target, Blindborg.
That was brilliant, and we were riding on board as he was setting him up for that move, and you could just see that he positioned that car, he had a nice run, made that move up the inside, and of course, it takes two to tango. They gave each other plenty of room. They know it's only lap 7, and you know, they can push on. There's nothing to lose. There's nothing to gain here, I should say, when you start fighting each other in the earlier laps of one of these races.
Weinberger up to 13th already, having an okay run. So far, safe from elimination if he stays there. He's 8th in the standings. There we go, right up on the inside, right on cue, up to 12th by Michael Talianich. Kobe Williams might want a piece of that as well. Side by side through turn 4, very nicely done. See, this is the thing, isn't it? We can sit here, Sandman, and talk about the guys that are at the risk of being eliminated and how they've got to attack it in either aggressive or defensive nature. The guys that are safe in our mathematical equations here, it hasn't stopped them from playing it safe here. They are still elbows out. It just goes to show that once the gloves are off, it's on in earnest.
Right, and in all due respect, they couldn't give a rat's about anyone else's championship. If they know that they're inside it, then they're going to race as hard as they need to because they know that they've really got nothing to lose. It's the drivers around them that have to worry about what they can gain.
So position number 21 in our championship picture at the moment. There's Dylan Pereira, actually, P number 3 in the race here. Now, Pereira in our points equation is 29, 212 points. So that would rocket him up to 21st on corrected standings at the end of the night.
That's huge.
12 points outside. So if something goes wrong for a Dyson or a Faulkner, or if he can push his way forward and get those next 2 spots, who knows? Pereira might just race his way in from what was 29th going into this round, Sandman. So we talk about 16 to 25 all we like, and 29th is saying, well, don't forget about me.
Absolutely, and how chuffed would he be? He's obviously at a point of the race where you can't afford to get yourself too excited. He's in a great spot. He's got absolutely zero pressure from behind. He's watching the 2 guys up front, and he knows at the moment that he's there or thereabouts for the bubble. So still a lot to play out, but very good mindset for the moment for Dylan. He's at Lachlan over the moment.
Wide, going into the cleavage. Wide out 7. He's gathered it up. He tucks back into 13th. Kobe Williams goes by. He's under pressure now from Michael Toliadic. Here it is.
Whoa.
Oh, just caught the ripple strip and the gravel on the other side of it. And he's lucky that that wasn't a bigger, more costly moment.
It's ridiculous how easy that is to do. You take nothing away from Lachlan. You know, you carry so much speed through there. You're trying to optimise as much racetrack as you can, and you get that rear on the grass and gravel, and that makes life a little bit more difficult. But he gathered it up and didn't lose too much, thankfully.
So Capel's 13th at the moment, but just look how long that train is right now. How evenly matched this field was. We mentioned the top 33 in qualifying covered by 0.7 of a second. It's taking a while for them, therefore, to spread out and find some clear air and some personal space. If you're claustrophobic, Winton's not the place to be tonight. Damon Woods, Job Stewart, Dylan Pereira, Glenn Postlethwaite, Kurt Stenberg, the top 5 in the race after lap 9. We're on lap 10 at the moment. We're riding on board with Teo Serrano, who is also trying to race his way into the top 20, 21 even, to get himself into the fight for a golden ticket tonight for the 12-round season proper, which will get underway, of course, a month from today. Sebring International Raceway in Sebring, Florida. We're looking forward to it immensely.
Absolutely. It hasn't Sebring really turned it on for almost every opening round that we've had. Sebring has been an absolute cracker, and I don't think it'll disappoint again this year.
Last year, of course, the track was blocked at one point. If iRacing had a red flag option, it would have been used after that late race cartage. But in the meantime, he's Serrano in 10th. Damon Wood still leads. We're keeping an eye on Serrano because he's got Weinberg right up his drain pipe. Then Kobe Williams, Lachlan Cable, Michael Tolianic. Brian Bald's another name to keep an eye on. Dylan O'Shea, Jake Blackwell, Tyce Hodge, Bradley Ratu. Bradley Ratu. What about that for a run? Already making inroads.
Yeah, I think he's won
9 spots from 28th on the grid. On track for that OG Hard Charger Award.
It's not bad, is it? He's having a red-hot go here at the moment, and to be at the early stages of this race, that just means the car's pretty good, and there's obviously more room to improve, and as the night goes on, he'll be looking to tick off a few more. So, yeah, feather in his cap for the start, no doubt about that.
I don't want to put the mocker on it, but we're safety car free so far through 11 laps.
Oh, he's done it now. He's just done it, ladies and gentlemen.
I just want to say it because there's already some alternate strategies at play here, mate. So you're looking at Preston, Dyson, Widders and Hobson. Benefield's out. Forget about that. Unfortunately, we're down to 36. Look at this, 2x2. Wayne Burke in the thick of it here, going through cleavage. Have a look at that. And Lachlan Capel and Kobe Williams hung out to dry. Burt goes up to 11th, and look at the log jam and the congestion going on there. And if it does go up in smoke for any of those entries, the point I was trying to make is that Hobson, Widders, Dyson, Preston, they run the risk of going down a lap at the moment if things stay as they are because they're so far off the beaten track. If they get a safety car, they're back in the game all of a sudden, theoretically and hypothetically speaking. Oh,
that was contact. Yeah, so that looks like Teo and Ryan Jones. So that's the last thing that Teo needs right now, because if he finds himself in a spot of bother with the stewards, that could have all that hard work gone away from him.
Brian Ball goes to pit lane as well, so he's running a slightly varying strategy to everybody else in the field now as well. You've got to do something to try and give yourself the best possible chance of pushing forward, and theoretically, Brian Ball believes that clear air might just be his best bet at the moment. He might come back out in striking distance of the likes of Dyson, Widders and Hobson, but at least it won't be in this mess, which is about 12 or 13 cars deep at the moment.
Geez, I'd be wondering if I was teammates or, crew members that you'd want to be in his ear to say, you know what, really look after that car, because if he finds himself where he gets, here we go, the OG replay, touch right there. Oh, goodness. And he held on to it. Oh, that's heart and mouth stuff. He just, and then of course everyone's just tripping over each other here, but thankfully he got away with it. But he's in a position where he probably just hasn't quite got that car speed. He probably needs to maybe give up a position, but you don't want to do that in the early stages because he's so mindful of the points position that he's in.
Correct. And to be fair, if that had ended up causing damage or sending the car around in the wrong direction, compromising somebody, whatever the case may be, race control have a bit more of a look at that. But considering that it was just the minus bump, a little love tap, I look at that and say, fair game, play on. Robbins Racing, and there's going to be a bit of that tonight.
Yeah, look, there was no gains out of it. That was good hard racing, and I wouldn't be surprised for a moment that the stewards just let these guys play on with it. If it gets a little bit more dirtier, then it's a different story. If Wayne or someone had maybe made the position move after a touch like that, that's when the stewards get involved. But everyone sort of got back into position and just started racing again. But the pressure's definitely on Teo. You can see that there's a number of cars that are ready here to pounce. And there was someone that just dived into pit lane too that got themselves out of this position. I think just when you find yourself in a train like this, it was Dylan O'Shea that dived to the pit lane. He knew there was nothing to gain out of this, so he said, you know what, let's make a tour down pit lane, let's get some clear air, and let's get a bit of pace into this race.
Indeed. We go with Ryan Jones at the moment, leading this train, 9th place at the moment. Teo Serrano in behind him. Wayne Burke, Kobe Williams, and Lachlan Capel. Josh Horton's just moved up to 19th, displacing Brady Baldwin. Keep an eye on Brady. Racing well so far, but again, the field isn't cleansed, so we don't have enough of, as Wayne Burke comes to pit lane, he exits stage left.
No, he's had a moment.
No, he doesn't. He's had a big moment.
Hold on.
Is that packet loss?
Yeah, He's having some
This
technical
is a
issues.
network issue. Oh, no. That's read
Thankfully-
its ugly head far too many times in this series so far, gentlemen.
Yeah, well, you know, that's just one of our 50-cent parts that comes into our sport. You know, you're at the hands of the gods as far as the internet. As we go back to the OG Gear replay, you're going to see that it could either be a PC issue or an internet dropout. He goes in, yeah.
Oh.
It's hard to know.
Wow.
When you start to lose your internet, you do tend to lose a little bit of grip and traction. Oh, dive up the inside here. So Teo under fire here. He
Ryan
might
Jones.
lose 2 spots here.
Oh boy, it's on in earnest. Ryan Jones slots back to 11th. Teo Serrano makes the move. Kobe Williams goes with him. Serrano to 9th, Williams to 10th, and Ryan Jones back to 11th. And car 43, we're being reliably informed, is having a disconnection issue as well. That's Josh Horton. He's down in 18th. Brady Baldwin's just gone by him.
Uh-oh.
Oh, it's all happening tonight at Winton Motor Raceway.
Who's that? That's Brady
That's
Baldwin.
Brady Baldwin. Now, how's he ended up out in the weeds out of turn 9? Baldwin was inside the top 20 and he's just dropped 7 or 8 spots. All hell has broken loose in Benalla.
Here we go. This is the OG Gear replay. Oh, is there contact? He's gone for a move up the inside. Oh, the car's just gone round. He was so unlucky, incredibly unlucky. Thankfully, kept it off the concrete. He was just basically a passenger there. He got tagged. Unfortunately, he managed to thankfully he managed to gather it up, but that really starts to put the pressure on him because he's already trying to fight his way into the bubble, and that's just made his night just that little bit more trickier.
Has it what? And tricky is the word which best describes this night. It is so fraught with danger for those that are on the bubble and those that are still trying to cement their place inside the top 10, because as we say, it's still a championship, so you want the best finishing result possible. Even though you're safe, even though you've guaranteed the golden ticket just about, Wayne Burke won't be terribly happy with that packet loss issue, because how far down the order is he going to tumble tonight?
Well, the problem is too is that it's important that he actually finishes the race. If you DNF, you don't get points. So he's, you know, regardless of whether he wins or not tonight, he needs to actually finish the race. Thankfully, he's in a decent enough position, point aim wise, that he should finish inside the top 20, but he needs to finish more importantly.
He's rejoined in 28th position. And it's in by the points that we've got coming through from Jay. He's still showing 10th at the moment, so that'll be a net loss of 2 spots at this point. But he needs to finish, as Sam Mann said. A DNF is 0, and look, we're on the ragged edge here with Andrew Dyson.
Left rear, that's the left rear protesting, I reckon. That was him trying to get on the power and the car just getting away from him. He's obviously struggling with this a little bit as we go to the OG Gear replay. He saw that the move was on. He opened up the steering wheel. Great. Gets on the power and watch this thing step out. Just see it just wiggling around a little bit there. Smart driving just to sort of get out of it and know that not really worth putting up much of a fight there.
Just having a look down the bottom of the order, Sam Mann, with regards to those that have stopped and those that haven't. So Preston, Borg, Dyson, Vitus, Shea, Ireland and Hobson. That's what 7 drivers, probably half of whom have had their hand forced in this regard. They've had to come to pit lane because of early race incidents or indiscretions, whereas everybody else has opted intentionally for that strategy.
Yeah, and this is what I love too, when there's that strategy that there's enough on the plate where people can roll the dice and try something different. That's when our races start to become alive.
Have a look at the change at the top of the train as well. Of course, if the race winner gets the automatic ticket, so minus them, that's what it looks like. Postlethwaite would go to 4th, Belt to 3rd, Riley to 2nd, Ballard to 1st, Yusuf, Barndell, Hobson 5, 6 and 7. So Hobson would net lose 5 positions based on the current running order if things were to stay as they are now, but the likelihood of that happening is next to near nothing as we circle lap 17 of 67. So 17 in the book and 50 to go once we're done with this lap here. We're following Ryan Jones at the moment. He's chasing Lachlan Capel. It's been a good start from Capel. Of course, the first of those drivers that you mentioned earlier in the night as being in the danger zone, Sam Mann. 16th in the championship coming into tonight and doing everything right in trying to at least stay inside the top 20.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we're starting to get ourselves into a little bit of a rhythm at the moment. Drivers are understanding where they're at, how their car's feeling. They're at a point where they need to look after their tyres now because they'd definitely be protesting. We touched on the heat and what they've been dealing with here at Winton. One of the drivers actually joked that I said, what's the tarmac they like? And they said, it's like racing on lava. So,
That's it.
and here we go, battle up front. This is Damon Woods, Job Stewart.
Lava.
Yep, here we go. So what's Job going to do? He's trying to have a red-hot go here. Job's in a position, I was looking at those live points, he's still not inside the bubble, even though he's in P2. So he's in a position where he needs to win and in.
So a replay here coming up to turn 10. Damon Woods has made a mistake on the approach to turn 10. Oh, no. He's bowled it slightly wide on marbles, and that's what's brought Job into the fight. So all of a sudden, Job has a sniff, and it's like throwing the red rag in front of the bull, Sam, man. He's not waiting for a second invitation as we watch Ben Faulkner come to pit lane now from position number 24.
Yeah, a couple other drivers that have made the lane as well too. So yeah, that's always frightening. You know, when you have that little moment on the marbles, obviously he needs a few corners after that, Damon Woods, to sort of clean up his tyres. So you can see the pressure he's got here. Job Stewart is right here ready to pounce. So those tyres maybe struggling a little bit, taking a little while to clean up, and Job's ready to pounce.
And look who has the best seat in the house as well, Dylan Pereira, out there at the moment in position number 3, saying, you boys have at it, I'll just come through and clean up the pieces if you let me. So, lap 18, Woods, Stewart, Pereira, Postlethwaite and Stenberg, the top 5. We're getting perilously close to that, the start of that pit window for these guys. In fact, we're beyond that critical number for the first stint because we know that you can get a maximum of 37 out of the tank, so the critical number in which you can stop and get home without stopping again is 30. I think a lot of these guys might have been waiting for the first stop to be dictated by a safety car appointment. That hasn't come and gone just yet.
Oh.
However, there's some contact there involving Josh Horton in 20th place, coming out of turn 10. He's going to plummet down to 22nd. Jacob O'Reilly past to 21st. Ryan Campbell to 20th. Andre Youssef to 19th. Tice Jones in the thick of it with Brian Jones and Michael Talianich as well. All hell is breaking loose.
Yeah, he tried to make a dive up the inside. Thankfully, there was no contact, just went in a little bit deep. He's decided to make sure down pit lane and put on a new set of Dunlops.
Ryan Jones, Michael Talianich, Josh Horton to pit lane. That time around as well. So varying numbers, varying strategies, very much on show for all and sundry to see tonight. Hope you're enjoying it wherever you're strapped in for the ride around Australia or indeed the world across the platforms of the Australian Sim Racing Group and also, of course, SimSpeed. The Logitech V8 Pro Invitational Series for you, the qualifier, the 4th and final round of the qualifying series. It's been a busy month for these guys. Reward and hard work and effort's about to be paying off in spades. For 21 of these drivers tonight, they'll be presented with their golden ticket to join the main grid for the 12 rounds that follow starting March 26 right here on these platforms as well. And hopefully the lead man, Scotty Rankin, back in full flight and back to peak fitness for that one as well. We know he's tuning in. Good evening to you, mates. Hope you're enjoying what you're seeing so far. Flick us a comment, give us your thoughts via way of text, and we'll relay it out to the audience for you. Save the vocal cords. You need them back on deck in a month's time. Now, Terry Serrano to pit lane. Not the only one. There's also Bradley Rudder and Tyson Broad following in him. So they're going to plummet down the order. But again, we're not going to get a clear indication as to who the winners and losers of this opening stint are, Stan Man, until the field is cleansed.
Absolutely. We're at a point too where tyre deg is starting to become a bit of an issue. So the drivers that make a dive down pit lane now and get on some fresh tyres, there's going to be an advantage on the teams that are racing around on 20-lap-old tyres. So the likes of Teo, you know, he's in now. He'll exit out. So when he joins and rejoins, he'll have significant pace and probably hope to gain and maybe make the leap over a couple of drivers who were in and around him. So it'll be interesting to see how much longer that our leaders go. They're obviously quite comfortable at this stage and don't have too much pressure from behind.
We're about to see a replay here on screen coming up to turn 3. This is Damon Mulqueen in the Synergy Sim Sports entry. Wide going through turn 3. Gathers it up, but is immediately under pressure from, I think that's Brian Borg. following him. Actually, no, it's not Brian Borg. It's Corey Preston
Yep.
squeezing through on the run into turn 5. Brian Borg, the next one down the road, I should say. And now, still that battle continues with Damon Woods and Job Stewart. Kobe Williams coming to pit lane in 10th place, 994. Jake Blackwell, therefore, moves into the top 10 at the moment. Tice Hodge and also Andre Youssef still having a good ding-dong out there. We've picked up Matthew Bauer. He's got Dennis Gaderick to the front and Hayden Veld to the rear. Williams, Hodge, McNamara all on pit lane. Sam, man, what would be the merit of these guys in splitting it down the middle with tyre deg in mind, going 22.44 and home or 22.45 and home?
Well, rolling that dice and going for a nice even strategy, I guess they could be thinking about a position where, again, we haven't seen the safety car as yet. Does that start to play into a factor? Do they sort of think about rolling the dice with something like that? It's a tough call too. You know, I'm sort of the driver that likes an even split strategy, but when you start to see drivers around you dive to the lane and go for fresh tyres, it's hard not to follow them as well.
Through turn 10, a run up to turn 11 once more. So this is the battle for 7th. A little bit further up the road is where you'll find Dennis Gaderick. Bauer, Veld, Capel, Blackhall, the top 10. We picked up Jack Wittes in 24th place. Now, he's one of those guys in that bubble, 16 to 25 that we're talking about going into the night. He's sitting on 340 points coming into this round. There's a replay as well of, I missed the number on that, the red Joe, it was Wittes. Going through car number 889, going through turn 3 and 4. Here's Hayden Veld coming to pit lane now at the end of lap 21. We start lap 22. We've got Job Stewart chasing Damon Woods. Jesus, this has been a terrific scrap for the duration so far. They've shaken off the threat of Dylan Pereira for the moment. Glenn Postlethwaite's out on his own, having a bit of a lonely run in 4th. But these two are keeping each other honest, which is keeping us entertained and amused.
Well, I picked Job at the start of the night, and if I was in Job's ear, I'd be wanting to pit at least one lap before Damon Woods to get that fresh tyre advantage. How close they are at the moment, covered by half a second, that fresh tyre advantage would help him leapfrog Damon. So if I was someone at that team, and I think I'd be definitely getting in his ear and thinking about maybe trying to pit before Damon Woods. I think the last thing he needs to do is following him in, because that could jeopardise him as well.
To the right-hander, back onto the main straight they'll come through the right-hander at turn 12. Main straight, lap 22 in the books, 1/3 race distance thereabouts, ladies and gentlemen. To the pit lane comes Dylan Pereira.
Yeah.
Dylan Pereira is on pit road, so maybe he is going for that even strat that we were talking about. Glenn Postlethwaite as well. Dennis
all of them.
Gaderick, Matty Bauer. So this is a critical lap for quite a few drivers. Maybe they're thinking about this not so much from a fuel standpoint, but from a tyre standpoint. Lachlan Capel also on pit road, so too Jake Blackwell. Here's Hayden Veld rejoining in 16th after that first round of pit stops. But still Woods and Stewart leading the way, and Stenberg having a clean run so far as well.
Yeah, I would have loved to have seen Job Stewart in that lap, because I've got a feeling that Stenberg and Woods will be in the next lap. And so as soon as they start seeing the rest of the field behind them starting to pit, they'll know that fresh tyre advantage will put them under pressure. So don't be surprised if you see the rest of the teams and drivers decide to make their pit stop next time round. And that's what I was talking about. You really wanted Job in a position where he had that at least one lap over Damon Woods. They haven't pitted yet, but I would imagine my money would be on next time by.
All right, here we go. We pick up Kobe Williams under pressure from Andrew Dyson. Dyson tucked into the inside there, had a look. Wanted to try and find a way through on the inside, run out of time. Tucks back in, follows Williams through. And now we go back to our leaders. Woods goes,
Woods
comes in, Stewart goes round, Stewart goes on. Woods has gone now. He's pulled the trigger. He's seen everybody else go in behind him.
Stenberg
at the end of lap 23, he's on pit road. Stenberg goes too, but Job Stewart's running it long.
I would have loved to have seen Job in the lap before.
Look at this. The elbows are out. Brian Borg and Matty Bauer, the battle for 10th. Borg having a good charge. He's on somewhat of a reverse strat to these guys. He started... he said 11 laps ago. Some of them haven't pitted yet, but Brian Borg is 11 laps into this stint. He stopped earlier. And now Jack Wittes and Michael Talianich, we're going to pick up a replay here, courtesy of OG Gear. This is coming up to turn 6 and 7. Down the inside. 2-1 does not go, boys.
And while all that's happening, it looks like Stenberg has jumped. So I think that Stenberg's managed to get the jump. So that's been a brilliant, brilliant pit stop from Kurt Stenberg.
Yep. And Corey Preston has now completed 2 compulsory pit stops, but there's a massive asterisk next to that one. He's well short of that critical number that we've been highlighting, unless he can do some miraculous fuel saving from here, Sam, man. He may have just made a rod for his own back, unless he's relying on a safety car in which to help the cause.
Safety car, still another pit lane pit stop that everyone needs to make another tour down pit lane, I should say. So here we are. Here's Job Stewart. So he's in. I wonder if he's left at that 1 lap too late, or has he managed to get the advantage? He may shorten up his as well, just so he can hopefully jump. But we're just checking the timings. It looks like Pereira, he will be the effective race leader, depending on how Job Stewart's stop goes.
36.062 seconds. He's got out ahead of Stenberg and Woods. So Stenberg's jumped them as well. Postlethwaite's in there behind. This has narrowed the margins up. This has tightened the field up right now. Pereira down the main straight. Stewart's still on pit road. Now actually, no, he's not leaving pit road. It's a long stop. And therefore, Dylan Pereira is going to lead us across the line at the end of lap 24.
Job's
and Stewart rejoins well down the order outside the top 5. Long road home from here.
Yeah, it was a long stop. So Dylan Pereira now, and he pitted a couple laps before the rest of the other drivers. So he had that fresh tyre gain. So of 1 lap, that's helped him basically leapfrog. Obviously, there's been different decisions down pit lane as far as how long the drivers wanted to stay stationary. So that is going to play a bit of a part. But your moment now, your top 3, Dylan Pereira, Kirk Stenberg in P2, and Damon Woods now from your leader back to P3.
We're going to have a look at the box number for Kurt Stenberg there. 12.1 seconds in the box, 32.4 transit. Damon Woods, 40.4 transit and 20.4 in the box. So has he taken his entire fuel drop on this stop in the hope of maybe only having to take... Well, actually, no, he needs more fuel anyway because there's still 42 laps to go. The critical number is lap 30 and there's 37 lap stint, so that doesn't add up either. Not sure what's happened there for Damon Woods, let alone Job Stewart.
Well, Stewart took a long stop as well, so I would imagine he was around the 20-second mark. Nose to tail here for these guys. So they've gone for the strategy where they've gone for a lot of fuel at the start and maybe a shorter pit lane stop next time. Oh, dive up the inside. These are live pitches. Tice Hodge gets up the inside. Jack Wooders, he makes a gain there as well. So, no, that was he went backwards. So Jake Blackhall made the gain there.
And Damon Woods has just punched out the fastest lap of the motor race. 1:23.036, 1/100th of a second, 1,000th of a second, in fact, faster than Kurt Stenberg, 1:23.037. So narrow margin still, and Job Stewart runs 5th at the moment. As we say, for Evolution Racing, it is win it or bin it for him tonight, because if he does not pick the box here and take the checkered flag first, he's on the outer.
There's a replay, OG Gear replay, and this is Stewart. He's looking for a dive up the inside, gets the job done. Nice and clean. Beautiful, that's what he needs. He's obviously got decent car pace. We saw that in the opening 20 laps of this race where it was him and Damon Woods just controlling this race. So a little bit of strategy now for a lot of these teams and drivers. They've had different stationary stops, so that's different fuel loads in these cars, and that'll benefit them towards the end of this race.
Got back into the top 5 and at the expense of Dennis Gaderick. We should elaborate. There's Gaderick, top of shot, coming out of turn 11 into 12 onto the main straight. There's the top 5, folks. Half a straight separates them. Pereira, Stenberg, Woods, Postlethwaite, Stewart, Gaderick, Bell. If we do get that dreaded safety car beyond lap 30, Sam, man, strategy goes out the window. All cars on pit road. It will be absolute carnage and chaos.
It looks like fresh tyres. Job Stewart has got him the fastest lap of the race, so no surprise there. Good car pace and fresh tyres, but absolutely, it's people on the couch and us in the commentary box that wouldn't mind a safety car, but I know there's a number of teams and drivers that do not want to see that just yet.
Well, especially when you look, there's still... What have we got? We got everyone's transited the lane at least once. There's a couple of guys that have transited twice, like Preston, and also Ireland. And have a look at the deficit between making it or being on the outer. 4 points, 8 points now. Brady Baldwin and Jack Widders. 428 gets you in, 420 gets you out. Ben Faulkner on 396. Horton, Blackhall, Talianic, it's a long way back from there. But if you take Saroni, you're breathing slightly easier at this point. Brady Baldwin, not so much.
Yeah, it's still heart and mouth for a lot of these drivers. It wouldn't take much, unfortunately, for one of them to have just a moment or a little bit of nose-to-tail contact. If they get off on the grass, that can change their night as we go to the OG Gear replay. And this is going to be Job Stewart. He's going to try the crossover move here, and this is that fresh tyre game that he's got. So straight up the inside of Glenn Postlethwaite. Nice and good. They both drivers gave each other plenty of room, and the best thing that I liked about that was that Glenn knew that Job was coming with those tyres, and he was just like, you know what, off you go, Tiger. I'll just sit and watch.
That's it. And there was a small smidge of a hip and shoulder associated with that as well, but all's fair in love and war. It's like 28-67. You're watching round 4 of the Logitech GV Pro Invitational Qualifying Series. And it is cutthroat stuff here, ladies and gentlemen. We're loving it. Glenn Postlethwaite showing 5th at the moment. Gaderick, Veld, Bauer, Williams and Borg make up the top 10. We've picked up Josh Horton in 15th. He's got Dylan O'Shea and Andrew Dyson just ahead of him. He's got Ryan Jones, Jacob Riley and Sean McNamara up. He's Clarker waiting for him to make a mistake. Sean McNamara, there's one guy that we haven't really had a chance to touch on just yet. He could be on track for back-to-back OG Gear Hard Charger awards here, Sam, man. He's up from outside the top 30, I think he was in qualifying. He's into 18th already. This is a good run from him in the 951.
Yeah, absolutely. It's one of the benefits of having a dodgy old night on the racetrack, isn't it? That if you have a shocking in qualifying and you make it into the race and make up some positions, our friends at OG Gear Replay look after you. But how's this? Speaking of OG Gear, the replay, 3 into 1. No, not quite. Oh, contact. And he'd gone round. That's going to be heavy contact with the concrete. Well, there was a tyre barrier there, so a little bit of damage. Thankfully, they might be able to get away with that, and we don't see a safety car. But, man, how's that hard racing? He's got away, so that's Sebastian Vandel missing the bumper. But more importantly, he's got away with it, but he's also got a 5-second penalty from the stewards, unfortunately.
And that'll be applied post-race, of course. So we continue to watch this battle between Pereira, Stenberg and Woods. Hold your breath, folks, because if we get through this lap and the next, we're beyond that critical lap that we highlighted at the top of the broadcast. That will be the difference between being able to make another stop and get home comfortably and not so. And given that there's already some games at play with those that have already completed 2 stops with regards to those that are hoping for a fuel save in the form of a safety car, anything is possible in the next short while here. And look at this. It is just, it cannot be overstated or understated, I don't think, in any way, shape or form, Sam, man. As we have a look at Josh Horton there in 18th place. And,
replay.
Have a look at this on the rundown into cleavage.
What are they going to do
around the
here?
outside and gone.
Oh, what's happened? Oh, he's touched marbles, I think. He's run wide. And look at the amount of spots that he's dropped.
Oh, can you believe this? Dylan O'Shea has fallen foul of the same issue that was plaguing another competitor. I think it was Wayne Burke earlier in the piece. He's dropped from the server, ladies and gentlemen. Dylan O'Shea's night is done, and he will be sweating bricks for the next short while because he's only on 400 points. If he's getting 0 tonight, he's got a long, arduous wait ahead of him over the next 38 laps. Now look at the forceful moves on. Jacob O'Reilly, Andrew Dyson, Sean McNamara in there. O'Reilly's going to 14th in the 222.
Oh, it's all happening here. Lap 30 of 67. This is the point of the race where everyone will start to be crunching the numbers, and they'll know how much desperation is going to be needed for the rest of the night if they want to continue in this series for 2025. A dive up the inside there. They're side by side there through the turn. Nice and tight through this section. Everyone's managed to get away with it. A little bit of argy-bargy, but that's what we love in our supercar racing.
And this is exactly the point that I wanted to come back to before we were talking about Dylan O'Shea, boys. And for the benefit of, when I say boys, ladies and gentlemen, I'm talking plural because even though you can't hear him at home, the great man Jake Kennedy's in our ear all night, steering us in the right direction. We would be lost without his insight and wisdom. There's no doubt about that. But this is the point I wanted to make, Sam, man. it cannot be understated and highlighted enough just how intense a hit out this is. It's 200. Oh, wide we going into pit lane.
Yep.
So that is Andrew Dyson coming to pit lane to stop a second time. He's at that critical number. He can stop and get home from here. Now, as we go and elaborate on that, there are the 3 leaders back on your screen: Pereira, Stenberg, and Woods. It cannot be highlighted enough just how intensely draining, mentally fatiguing this night is going to be, Sam, man, because you've got to be on your toes from first until last. There's no real opportunity to relax tonight. Wherever you are in this field, there's cars to the left, to the right, to the centre, behind you, in front of you. You're always going to be contending with something out there on the racetrack that's beyond your control.
Absolutely, and regardless of what situation you're in, you just think about 67 laps around here in any car. If I told you to go out there and give it hell for leather for 67 laps, you could be absolutely knackered at the end of it. These guys have got to go out there and race with 35 of their closest competitors and take it on this racetrack in these conditions as well. So it lifts the game for everyone. This battle is getting interesting because Damon Woods knows that he needs to put this pressure on Kirk Stenberg because he knows that Job Stewart is coming. Essentially, it's Damon Woods and Job Stewart possibly racing for the win. We know that Stenberg and Pereira, they had slightly shorter pit stops, so they may lose a little bit come next time right in the pit lane. But Damon Woods knows that Job Stewart is getting bigger in his rearview mirror.
And I think I'm also right in saying, out of the 4 circuits we've been to, this is the shortest. We know that, but therefore I think also it's the slowest average speed on the calendar. So therefore, technically, it should be the longest race in terms of time as well throughout the course of the campaign. So it is taxing in every sense of the word, the trip around this little 3-kilometre bull ring in northeastern Victoria. We ride on board with Andrew Dyson now. He's put a little bit of breathing space between himself and the chasing pack, and he needs to too, because they are the leaders. He cannot afford to go a lap down here. He wants to stay on the lead lap in the event that we don't get a safety car to help him out. Now, Michael Tolianic also is showing a lap down. Dylan O'Shea a lap down, but back out in the race. We need to chase up maybe what's happened with Tolianic as we go back to Damon Woods, Kurt Stenberg and Dylan Pereira on the main straight. Stenberg, the deficit is 0.8 of a second at the moment as we complete lap 31 and start 32, 33 now. And wide at turn 1 there is Sebastian Vandel as well, and he's had a wretched run tonight. Of course, really struggled in qualifying. And as we detailed earlier, Sam, man, once you're struggling qualifying, it's a long road from there.
Yeah, absolutely, and especially it doesn't matter what racetrack you go to. When we talk about, it's almost like a bull ring here at Winton, isn't it? So, yeah, it's already going to be a tough, difficult night, and yeah, it's not going to get much easier.
We're just hearing as well that Michael Talianic has retired, and we now go to a replay here out of turn 9, and oh, jeez,
saved it. Yeah,
no,
it looks like he just
all on his own. I just missed the number on the Rego there.
That was Jack Andrews, so looks like he just got on the loud pedal and that left rear got away from him, unfortunately, but stayed on the black stuff, lost a little bit of time, but thankfully pointed in the right direction.
So back to this compelling battle at the front end of the field. Woods, Stenberg and Pereira. Stenberg the threat in there at the moment. It's not yet known what the transit times are going to be second time round, what the stop and hold times are going to be for these guys. That's the unknown quantity of what awaits that second round of pit stops, and just how long these guys can afford to leave it before they dive in. Pereira, Stenberg, Woods, Stewart trying to reel them in. He's brought that deficit back to 2.8 seconds. He's on the run.
There's just throw a blanket over these guys, and you know, Job Stewart, he's just there. This is his view. Perfect timing as we go on board the ERT Chevy. He can see that battle up in front, and thankfully for him, he's got no pressure from behind. He is slowly starting to close that margin, and he can see the pressure that Damon Woods is putting on Kirk Stenberg. So this is all working in his favour. He can run his own race and not have to worry about the possibility of anyone touching him or getting caught up in anything. What he needs to do is see that pressure between Woods and Kirk Stenberg. If that raises and the pressure starts to go up between those two, it could be an easy streak for Job Stewart.
So already A couple of stings in the tail and spanners thrown into the works tonight. It wouldn't be a championship script without it. But it's smooth sailing so far for Pereira, Stenberg and Woods at the front end of the field. We mentioned that Michael Tolianic had some issues. The Synergy Sim Racing competitor out of business, done for the night. 27th place in the points coming into the race. That puts pay to his qualification aspirations, but we'll see him come in Enduro time in October and November. Don't worry about that. O'Shea, Broad, Baldwin, Serrano and Widders at the moment in. Faulkner, Dyson, Blackhall, Horton and Mulqueen out. But Dyson, of course, will come back up the tree because he has completed that second stop. He is on the run to the checkered flag. The next guy that we'll be keeping an eye on as far as completing that second stop and getting home is concerned is old mate Brenton Hobson, who had that early race incident and has been chasing his tail since. Stenberg there in position number 2. We now go back and pick up Tyson Broad and Brady Baldwin in 17th and 18th. Oh, wide and one. Oh. There goes Yusuf across the grass at 1 and 2. Rejoins on the run up to 3. There may well be an invoice to pay for that. And maybe an iRacing slowdown, I'm not sure. It doesn't appear to be the case at the moment. He's latched back on okay. But it's 21st now for Yusuf. Broad back up into 20th. Hodge 19th, Burke 18th, Baldwin 17th, and Josh Horton at the front of that train in 16th. Now just actually ahead, latching onto the next train, which includes Sean McNamara, Ryan Jones, Jacob Riley, Lachlan Copel, and Teo Serrano. By gee, it's Freight Train City tonight in Benalla.
Absolutely, that's heart and mouth stuff, isn't it? So, yeah, it's starting to get to the point. What, we've got 32 laps to go, and everyone knows that they know what's on the line, and you can't afford little mistakes like that.
Absolutely not. You can't afford the big ones, let alone the little ones. But what about this from Kurt Stenberg? This has been a magnificent drive. A terrific performance from him thus far. Clean, smooth, and faultless. Pereira has also been brilliant. Let Woods and Stewart lead the way in the opening stint. Has leapfrogged them for track position in the second run. Who knows what unfolds when we get to that second round of pit stops, but Pereira definitely holding his own, remembering that he's trying to come from 29th on the point standings to get into the fight for the series proper, which gets underway in a month from now. So Pereira needs to stay where he is to extend or increase the probability of qualifying, but it's no easy task.
Well, it's a perfect time to bring in team owner of Terence Tasman Racing, Madison Down. Obviously, he's got one eye on the screens at the moment. His boy Kirk Stenberg, currently in P2. How's the pressure and how are the nerves at TTR, Madison?
Oh, they're up there. It's tense there in the virtual garage, but he's doing a really good job. He's driven really well so far, and we know he's capable of a result. So, yeah, fingers crossed it all goes well to the end, but the pace is there. He's got it all under control.
How's it been when you're trying to look after him during this race? Because obviously he knows, you can see that pressure from Woods is there, and Job Stewart slowly starting to pull onto the back of them. Are you trying to coax him and try to get him to look after it and calm down a little bit, or are you letting him run his own race?
Yeah, there's just a little bit of coaching throughout it, just making sure that he's aware that his pace is good enough to be where he is. Obviously he hasn't run this high so far this season, but his pace, as you can see, is well and truly evident in this track. So just mainly coaching him to understand that he does deserve to be up here and he belongs here. You know, even little stuff like, do we let Woods go, do we not? We've opted to tell him to stay where he is. The rhythm he's got and the pace he's got is probably less risk than trying to coordinate a time, you know, potential time loss. So yeah, driving really well so far.
And with everything that's on the cards tonight, obviously he's had a rotten luck with this series, and like you said, he does deserve to be here. It makes it hard the first couple of rounds. He wasn't even racing on his own rig, and you as a driver know how tricky and difficult that can be.
Oh, 100%. The first 2 rounds he didn't do any practice at all, and then had to drive on somebody else's rig in a completely different part of Australia. So incredibly tough ask to do, and you know, I think he proved to all of us just how versatile and how strong of a driver he is. To run as well as he did in those first couple of rounds was unbelievable. And you can see now he's back on his back at home in his comfy place, and he's had really good pace the last 2 rounds. I mean, obviously Hockenheim didn't quite go his way, but it was a real eye-opener to see him put at P5 on the grid, and then again tonight back up the front. So yeah, doing really good things in this Gen 3 car. We actually did a practice race last night, and he ran with Maloney and I up the front of the field the entire race. So he's not only, you know, up the front of this qualifying series, he's matching the likes of myself and Jake Maloney as well, which is bloody awesome to see.
That's brilliant. Before we let you go, Mads, Zach, do you want to say anything to the boss man before he goes back to the pits?
I was going to say it's nice on a night where Plan B's been brought in off the bench to have iRacing royalty in the booth, Sam, man, in the form of Madison. Of course, one of the great performers in the 2 enduro races that I teamed up with you and Scott for last year, of course, with, for memory, Rehan Leonage, one of your great what's the word I'm looking for here? One of the names that you cannot sing the praises of highly enough, and rightly so. A bit like Emily Jones, who you quite rightly tipped back at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park, of course. But Madison, how's the team shaping up for the full season proper, mate? And can you believe that we're only a month away from that, as our good mate Brent... Oh, trouble. I'll come back to you, Madison. We've got a spinner. That's Brady Baldwin. Second incident for him tonight. And at the same point as the first, in turn 9, Baldwin on the ropes at the moment as far as trying to qualify is concerned. He's being punted, we're being told. Here it is on replay. Watch for him to be sent by the Vermilion Esports entry coming into turn number 9. Contact, left front on right rear, and then that knock-on effect where they've got intertwined in one another. And Brady Baldwin's on the ropes. 26th at the moment, a lot of work to do. Brenton Hobson, whilst we've been talking about that, and now Brian Borg have also come in and completed their second stop. We'll get back to Madison. Geez, a lot happening all at one point in time. It was so quiet whilst you and Sam then were chatting, and as soon as we want to have a chat, all hell breaks loose. Mate, how are preparations for the full team proper, for the full season proper, shaping up? And can you believe that the off-season's been gone, coming wet? We're only a month away from turning wheels in Angle once more.
Yeah, absolutely. Time flies. So, yeah, looking forward to the season. I mean, it's a massive new challenge for not only us, but the entire field. So a lot of unknowns for us. It's great to see some new teams as well, like Equips coming in is great. We've obviously got the Chiefs Esports Club announced yesterday as well coming in.
Yeah.
So I think it's going to be a much more exciting season to watch as a punter, and not only that, but also be involved in, to have not just, you know, the likes of TTR versus Lobs. We're going to have, you know, a really strong, probably 5 or 6 teams at the front fighting for wins. So I'm really excited for what 2025 brings. And yeah, as a team internally, been doing quite a few laps, obviously doing this quali series, been trying to help Stenny, Andre and Emily prepare. So we've been doing some laps and getting some setups happening, and yeah, we'll see how it pans out.
Now, I know you guys were exclusively talking supercars at the moment, but was there any incentive, any desire from within the ranks to have a crack at the GT3 series when it was offered by the guys here at the Australian Sim Racing Group, or not?
Yeah, absolutely. We've got 3 cars entered, which is really strong. Looking forward to that, and that's partially been a bit of an option for the guys that don't want to run in the V8. So we've got 4 drivers per car, to give us a lot of flexibility in driver lineups, but including the likes of, you know, Andre Heimgartner, Macaulay Jones and Aaron Borg. They'll be in car 77 with me, and
nice.
Got a few of our GT guys as well that don't normally drive the V8 that'll be slotting into a car as well as the usual V8 regulars. So really excited for that, and yeah, we think we're probably going to go a McLaren option for that, but we'll have to see how it pans out.
And how nice as we continue to watch Damon Woods here chasing Kurt Stenberg and Dylan Pereira. So status quo at the front. Joe Stewart has lobbed onto the back of that now, and we can tell you that Tice Hodge has a special request to transit the pit lane coming up his way. He's been sent there by way of a drive-through penalty for that incident with Brady Baldwin a short while ago. So an invoice to pay before he completes his second compulsory pit stop. Here he comes now to complete the drive-through, and that's going to rule him out of the top 20 contention, you would suggest. 27 laps to go. Amazing, isn't it, Madison? I mean, the growth of the ASRG stable is one thing, but that we're now in a position where we've got that extra avenue to explore that alternative to the Australian-based favourite that is the supercar, mate, but the GT following in this country, particularly on the iRacing platform, is extraordinary too. We've got a car off on driver's left coming up the back straight towards turn 11 as well. We'll get a rego number on that for you in just a moment. It is Kurt Stem. No, it's Sebastian Vandel, 32nd. Vandel, unfortunately, in trouble with rear-end damage, and that car's not looking terribly healthy at all, Sam, man. I'll get some comments from you on that before we get to Batterson.
Yeah, a little bit second-hand, but it's getting to crunch time now. 26 laps to go in this race, and this is where everyone starts to think about, putting their best foot forward for the end of the race.
Madison, going back to you, some comments on what I was saying there about the strength of GT racing in Australia at the iRacing level, at the virtual level.
Oh, it's huge. I mean, we've got some guys internally in our team that focus heavily on that. Names of like Josh Anderson and Alex Bird. Alex Bird's been helping us a lot with strategy, and they're running in kind of a bit of a sister team to us with Vendaval Sim Racing, which is making a comeback, which will be really good. But obviously the Eclipse guys, I mean, they are world class. Damon Woods, Dylan Burth, Cody Deeth, those guys in particular are going to be very tough to beat in a GT3 landscape. That's very much their baby and what they've kind of been focusing on. So it's going to be very hard to top those styles of teams. But hey, we're here for the challenge. If we can jump in, have some fun, have a good time, we'll be all keen for it. But yeah, exciting finish to this race shaping up as well. I'm just sitting here looking at the times. Obviously, we're running P2 with Stenny at the moment, but we know we've got to take more fuel. So as I'm talking, I'm madly sitting here trying to look at where he's going to fall back into the train because, it looks so... I think it's a bit of a calm before the storm here for everyone. I think it's all going to spice up in this last pit stop, as it always does. So, looking forward to seeing how this pans out.
Mate, we appreciate you very much coming in to give us your time, but we know it's about to get very hectic, so we'll let you go and focus on the task at hand, and we look forward to chatting either later tonight or, of course, right throughout the course of the season of the V8 Pro Logitech G Series proper. Go well, good luck.
Thanks, guys. Hopefully Stenny's in here chatting to you later. Thank you.
And, of course, we'll see him in the GT3 Series as well, which I think is absolutely fantastic. And we'll, when we get to that point, as Jacob O'Reilly comes to pit lane, so too Tao Serrano. Once we get to race week, where we've both got the opening round of the V8s and also the GTs, folks, we'll be able to dissect and pick apart a little bit more the form guide and the who's who and the do and the crossover of competitors here as well, Sam, man. Those that we're going to see on a Wednesday night as well as a Friday night. Into pit lane comes Corey Preston. Now, this is the third stop, so he's right out of contention, right out of whack, you would suggest now, is the privateer entry. There's the BMW safety car standing on by. We haven't seen it yet. We haven't had to call upon it. That's a very good thing. But I didn't think we'd be saying that about Winton, especially as we need near two-thirds race distance, Sam, man.
Yeah, well, it's not over yet. 25 laps to go. The top four covered by just over 1 second. So this is where it starts to get juicy. So don't ride out the fact that we don't see that gorgeous Logitech G BMW safety car, because that can still happen. Nice little rejoin there. Thankfully got out of the way of the top four there. But this is where the pressure starts to rise for these guys, because as Madison touched on, Kirk Stenberg, he's going to have a little bit longer of a pit stop. So that will affect his outcome. Him and Dylan, they both have to stop longer. It's Damon Woods and Job Stewart where they're now nose to tail. These guys pretty much had almost the exact same pit stop. So it's going to be interesting come the last time they take a tour down pit lane.
Up to cleavage we go. And this is the log jam of traffic now. Includes some lap traffic latching in to, or figuring in the picture as well. So keep an eye on that. The motor race is just on the brink of ramping up a notch in intensity. Pereira, Stenberg, Woods coming out of 9 up towards 10. Pereira, Stenberg right there. But they've been marginally happy, relatively happy right so far, Sam, man, to this point at least. To be processional, to follow the leader, to just tuck in and go through the motions. Pereira the first to pit, the first to pull the trigger. He'll zig, the others will zag. But it'll eventually get to the point where the overtaking moves will come, and they'll come thick and fast.
Yeah, it was. You could see that Kirk Stenberg was all over the back of Dylan, so Dylan's decided to get that pit stop over and done with. He'll have that fresh tyre gain now. You can see our leaders are coming up into traffic too, because these are cars that have already made a tour down pit lane, so they're going to have brand new tyres. They'll probably start to open up the margin on these drivers that are around them, but the last thing you need is to start be tripping over traffic, so you probably wouldn't be too surprised if you start to see these leaders make a tour down the pit lane as well.
Riding on board with Ryan Jones, sitting there 27th, on the brink of getting a blue flag. Because there's that chasing pack of leading cars coming towards him right now. Damon Wood's second. Dylan Pereira has gone to pit lane and come back out again. There he is in fourth. Now, I'm just going to say on air here that I might need a little bit of a refresh on the timing screen again, please, Jay. That's frozen on me at lap 44. We're on lap 45. We've got 23 to go. We've got Stenberg and Woods. And at what point do these guys pull the trigger, Sam, man? What time do they come to pit lane, do you think?
Well, for the likes, I think Stenberg has to be soon, and you can see, they're all coming in. So I didn't predict that Job Stewart and Damon Woods. Steady, they made contact! Oh, no! That could be drama for Damon Woods, because that could be looked at by the stewards. Although that Stenberg had his own moment, unfortunately, there was that little bit of contact between him and Woods. So, I don't want to be in the steward box right now.
Well, we've got the best seat in the house here in the commentary box. Here it is on replay, folks. You saw Stenberg have the moment going into pit lane. It could be all to the benefit of that guy on screen, Dylan Pereira on the right-hand side. That was the moment. And then there was the nudge firstly from Stewart. And then Woods also so Stewart got into Woods. Woods got into Stenberg. So race control, you're right, may well have a look at that as they rejoin the racetrack. Have a look at this. Woods has come out in front. Pereira goes by Stewart around the outside. Stenberg loses out completely, drops to fifth behind Postlethwaite. And Damon Woods is the leader at Winton for the moment. Pereira has come out in second. Stewart to third. Stenberg, who had the moment, has lost out completely, dropped 3 spots. But is there more to that narrative? Is there more to what just played out? Will race control intervene?
Yeah, that's going to be one of the big unknowns. Obviously, there was no intent there from Damon Woods. He was just an innocent bystander, because obviously Kurt Stenberg had that moment. There was that nose-to-tail contact, and he did pass him. So there was... Here we go. This is the OG Gear replay again. Stenberg has his moment. There's that touch. He does make position. So I don't want to be a steward. I never want to be a steward. Thankfully, I'm a commentator tonight, and I don't have to worry about that decision being made. But what Job Stewart needs to do now, obviously you can see Damon Woods in front of him. He's still got Dylan Pereira in front of him as well. So Stewart's not in a position where he can make it in on points. He's at a position where he needs to win. So he's hoping that he can get the job done on Dylan. And if the stewards don't intervene with Woods, he needs to close that gap on Woods with 22 laps to go.
Yeah. What they also need to analyse is that there was a nudge from Stewart into Woods, into Stenberg. But was that all brought about by Woods getting on the anchors to miss Stenberg? To take the action to him. Stewart to the inside of Pereira. Stewart is going to second. Stewart's charge begins now.
Yep. He knows there's no point looking after the tyres. And we're just hearing Dylan Pereira. Yep, Dylan Pereira is in P23. So even though he's third on the racetrack, he's 23rd in points, and he's outside the bubble looking in. So even though he's having a great night in P3, it's still not enough.
So it's both Stewart and Pereira that want the W here.
Yeah.
It's easier said than done. Back to pit lane comes Chris Island. This is his third stop as well, I think you'll find.
So Dylan and Job, they're in a position now where, 21 laps to go. Look after these tyres to the end, but use them up too. There's no point, saving it. And if you're going to buy your ticket at the end, you've got to make sure that you can close that margin on that. Job Stewart can see 1.2 seconds up the road is Damon Woods. He doesn't want to hold his breath on a possible pit lane penalty, where he can probably make it a bit of advantage on Woods. That's going to be a tough one for the stewards to call. I don't know that I'd be incredibly comfortable as far as trying to issue a
No.
penalty for any of these drivers, but hey, that's up to them. And Job Stewart needs to put that out of his mind and know that he has to get the pass on track done. So that's where he's at the moment.
Indeed. Woods, Stewart, Pereira, Postlethwaite. Here's Josh Horton down there in 21st place. And, Andrew Dyson's not looking all that good down there in 26th at the moment. So, I mean, he's on the right strategy in terms of he doesn't have to stop again. He's on his way to the checkered flag. But he's well outside the top 20, which is probably not where we had him on our numbers. And we're hearing that he might have been the recipient of a little bit of hip and shoulder. Bradley Ratu's got into the side of him here at turn 9. Oh, that's messy. And you had to see it coming. Ratu had the run, but he didn't have enough room to wiggle his way up the inside. I think he caught a little bit of grass on the way through.
Well, if the stewards haven't got enough on their plate.
Well, that's exactly right. the stewards might be here till tomorrow night. I don't know. I don't. Again, I'm glad that it's you and me in the commentary box and not in the stewards' room, mate. I do not envy them in the slightest. We get the easy part of the gig. There's no doubt about that. Woods, Stewart, Pereira, the top 3. Glenn Postlethwaite 4th. A little bit of a wide bowl there by Benny Faulkner.
Oh, he's struggling a little bit too. And we already talked about and touched on coming into tonight, Ben Faulkner. He was in P20, so he was right on the bubble. His night obviously isn't going great for him, and he's P21, and what is he doing today? 7 points or something. He needs to close that margin on. So he's got his work cut out for him still back in 24th, but yeah, it's hold your breath stuff with 19 laps to go.
So Faulkner on 4:04. Baldwin is in now on 4:12. Pereira, can you believe it, is still 19 points off being safe. But anything could happen in the next 25 minutes or so, folks. 19 laps to go. What a night we've had at the Winton Motor Raceway in Benoa. And what a night, more to the point, this bloke's having. Damon Woods, can he withstand the pressure? 1.1 the margin. Woods to Stewart. Stewart trying to reel him in, and then these two will set themselves up for a ding-dong scrap. And I don't think it'll be as gentlemanly as it was earlier in the piece, Sam, man, where they were just happy to tuck in and play follow the leader. Oh, no, after you, sir, after you. They will be getting the gloves off.
Well, what happens now, the next 19 laps determines how Job Stewart's year is going to go, whether he's on the couch or whether he's in the cockpit. So he knows what he has to do tonight. And here he is. He's closed that margin up. Look at that margin now. It's shrunk to almost half a second.
Woods had 2 wheels in the dirt coming out of 11. Woods clipped the dirt coming out of 11, and Stewart has reeled that in. It's 0.3 of a second, the margin in this car race. Strap in and buckle up, Australia. Bring on the next 18 laps here at the Winton Motor Raceway. 1 and 2 to have at it. Pereira watching on, helpless. There's nothing he can do about it. But he's got breathing space over Postlethwaite. Stenberg, he can easily capitalise, consolidate, wrap up 3rd spot tonight. There's that moment, a huge one at that.
Locked the front.
Rejoin, caught the gravel.
Yeah, I reckon he locked the front and then touched the marbles, and then that obviously made it really difficult to get it turned in. So that margin now closed to within half a second, and this is where Job needs to pounce. Put that pressure right back on Damon now, because Damon knows what position Job's in. The team will be telling him that Job has to win this. P2 is no bueno, mate. He needs to take the win to get that golden ticket.
Whereas Damon Woods is safe. Now, Tyson Broad is on pit road. Oh, dear.
He's gone from 18th, 19th, 20th.
He is on the bubble. Tyson Broad picked up a drive-through penalty on the bubble. Now, was that... it was for the Andrew Dyson incident. There you go. I was going to ask whether it was incident points and handed down by iRacing or handed down by our internal ASRG race control team. It was handed down by our guys. So therefore, Broad is on the bubble all of a sudden, 20th at the moment. Can you believe the pressure associated with the next few moments here in this car race? And what I wanted to say more to the point, Sam, man, is Dylan Pereira, he can sit there and consolidate 3rd all he likes, but what he has to wait for, as Jack Widders is there in 30th at this point in time, and this is for 20th in points. He's tied with Benny Faulkner. Oh, wow. I don't want to try and call this at this point in time. I can understand why you were sitting on the fence earlier. Now that we get to lap 51, my goodness gracious me. But what I was trying to get at, Sam, man, is Pereira's fate is now going to be at the hands of extenuating circumstances. He needs bad luck to fall upon somebody on the inner to fall out to let him in.
Yeah, well, this is something that I touched on at the start of the broadcast too, is that you didn't want to put yourself in a silly situation where you got a penalty as such, and that takes all that hard work that you've just put in, takes it all out of your hands. So the point standings on the right, they're live points. And you can just see, tied for 20th and 21st, Ben Faulkner and Jack, they're just battling out as hard as they can, knowing that this will determine their 2025 season. So the pressure's on for these guys, and the pressure's on for Job Stewart as he's got that margin down to half a second.
Indeed he has. Jack Widdit's 30th. Okay, we're hearing no further action for the incident between cars 92 and 28, which is Rain Campbell and Ben Faulkner. So they've had a moment. 92, 28, no further action. Play on. Doesn't help Faulkner in the slightest because Jack Widdits and Ben Faulkner are tied on 408 for 20th and 21st. One of them goes in, one of them goes home, and it comes down to count back. And what are those count back stipulations? Oh boy.
Yeah, this is incredible. And this is, how great is it that we've got live timing here that just predicts it for us. As soon as there's a positional change on track, those points adjust. And I know teams will be desperately keeping an eye on that just to see what they need to do in these closing stages. 16 laps to go.
Indeed, Andrew Dyson was 15th coming into this round on 350 points. He sits 24th in this race at the moment. Will that be enough for him to qualify for the series? Damon Woods, Job Stewart, Dylan Pereira, Glenn Postlethwaite, Kurt Stenberg, the top 5 at the moment. Stewart, the only one without, and Pereira, I should say, the only 2 without their hands on a golden ticket at the moment.
The pressure's on for those guys, knowing it. The scary bit for Dylan is that margin now is out to just nearly 3.5 seconds to the leader. So that's worrying when you know you need to get the win, and that margin is slowly starting to open up. So he needs to sort of get the job done now with 15 laps to go. Mate, it is anyone's race here for the moment.
Stay with us, folks. We'll take you right through to the checkered flag commercial-free post-race show to follow as well. We'll hear from the top 3. We'll bring you the final point standings, who gets their hands on the golden tickets. And then, of course, we'll preview the season ahead with regards to looking at when you can catch the opening round of both the V8s and the GT3s on what is going to be a massive final week of March on the platforms of the Australian Sim Racing Group and also the SimSport Esports Network too. So this is going to be magnificent. Have a look at this. Wide we go. And that's not for the first time tonight. Josh Horton finding himself in the thick of it. Back to 21st for him now. Now we go back to our leaders. Damon Woods and Job Stewart. The margin steady at half a second. Has Stewart got anything left to offer to take the fight to Damon Woods? We're going to find out over the next 14 laps, ladies and gentlemen. Hold on tight.
And isn't it funny that these guys have been pretty much this position for the entire race? You know, yes, there was a little bit of a mix-up with, pit strategies when Stenberg and the likes got in front of them, but to the point, it's been Damon Woods with Job Stewart in second. So much happening as we talk about Stenberg. He's now in the thick of it now with Glenn Postlethwaite. So looks like that Stenny's car's coming to him now. He's got obviously those little bit, I think he had maybe a lap or 2 fresher tyres. I think Postlethwaite, he pitted before. Oh, there we go. I'm just hearing in my ear now. There was a 1 lap difference. So Stenny looking a little bit racy. He's in a good position at the moment, so he doesn't need to do anything silly. He's inside that bubble now. So obviously a big comeback from where he was tonight. He was 22nd coming into tonight, and now he's safely in there. He just needs to hold on and not do anything silly for the next 14 laps.
Just the 2 retirements so far this evening. Talianic and Benefeld. Vandel 3 laps down. O'Shea, Hobson and Ireland 1 lap down. I didn't think I'd be saying that about Hobbo. Don't worry about that. Visma in 31st place, the last of the cars on the lead lap, but that won't be for much longer because the leaders are approaching him. Damon Woods, Job Stewart, Dylan Pereira 1, 2, 3. Glenn Postlethwaite 4th. And under pressure from Stenberg. Here we go. Back to the main straight. Let's pick them up one more time. Hard charger at the moment. Sean McNamara and Andre Youssef fighting for that 17 positions apiece. McNamara higher placed than Yusuf on the track at the moment. Got his hands on a second OG Hard Gear Hard Charger award.
Yeah, it's something I said earlier. It's one of the benefits if you have a bad qualifying night and a good run. At least you get a nice little reward from our friends at OG Gear. So, you know, it's I guess it's bittersweet, isn't it? It's you can take that away and know that you got that hard charger award from OG Gear, but you never want to qualify bad. But it's a nice little pat on the back when you have a good race.
Indeed it is. We've just gone beyond 10 o'clock Eastern Daylight Time, and we now have 13 laps to go. Tyson Broad has fought his way into the top 20 at the expense of Ben Faulkner. Broad has got through to 20th. Jack Widdus up to 19th. Ben Faulkner on the outer in 21st by 4 points. They're the fine margins we're dealing with, ladies and gentlemen. There's Faulkner in 23rd. Desperately needs something to unfold. Could you imagine the drama that would come with the late race safety car, Sam Mann, if we were to get that with regards to those guys that are on the bubble and just how quickly the intensity would lift here at Winton Motor Raceway. This is a little bit processional, I have to say, by our standards. The racing we've seen so far throughout the course of this season. And one of the reasons for that, I would suggest, is because we've gone 55 laps without incident, without caution.
Yeah, for the moment, it's risk versus reward too. There's a lot of people and teams and drivers that are in a position where they know they're safely in, and there's a number of drivers that know that they really don't have a chance. So I guess it's at that point of the race now that people are weighing up where they are, and it's risk versus reward, not to do anything silly and take them out of contention. But it's so interesting just to see and think about how these next 12 laps could play out and effectively change someone's season for the rest of 2025.
Well, the good news is the race field is cleansed. We theoretically racing all the way towards the checkered flag. They're very slowly creeping their way through turn 11 and 12 back to the main straight. Brady Baldwin 25th. Geez, what a case of what might have been for him. Sitting 18th at the moment on points, but not the result that he would have been chasing or hoping for tonight. Started outside the top 30, has fought his way through, has had a couple of incidents. He's been a target for some, unfortunately, an easy one at that. It's hard to miss him with that bright livery. But, yeah, he is holding on by the skin of his teeth to a berth at the series proper. 416 plays the two guys on 412, Widdus and Broad. And Benny Faulkner's the one missing out at the moment on 408. Dylan Pereira has done 62. We're on 63. We're about to go 64. Damon Woods will have 4 laps to go when he gets back to the line. We are watching Ratu, Campbell and Preston at the moment. We go back to this battle between Postlethwaite and Stenberg, which has been on in earnest since the completion of the second round of pit stops. And when does Stenberg pull the trigger, if at all?
Yeah, he's close. Again, it's risk versus reward. He doesn't want to make contact and have, come into the eyes of the stewards. He's in a decent position at the moment. He doesn't need to get that job done. He can probably still safely finish in that position behind Glenn Postlethwaite and still make the championship. So he's in a point where he needs to be smart about his driving, and I don't doubt for a second that his team will be in his ear saying that, you know what, yeah, you've got a little bit of pace on Glenn, but until you get that pressure from Dennis from behind, that's not something that he needs to worry about. He can follow for the next 4 laps, finishing in the top 5 and make the 2025 season.
Imagine the disappointment of our Logitech G safety car driver tonight, turning up and not getting to have a fang. I mean, it's perilously close to being a green flag affair. There are the standings with the removal of Damon Woods going into the golden ticket zone with the other 3 winners so far in the qualification series. O'Reilly, Bauer, Veld, Burke up to 4th, Borg, Yusuf, Postlethwaite. Hobson with that issue tonight has dropped all the way down to 8th. Williams, Varndell, McNamara, Capel, Jones, O'Shea, Dyson, Sorono has fought his way in. Stenberg as well. Widdus, Baldwin, Broad, then Faulkner and Pereira. Faulkner and Pereira on the outer at the moment as Broad and Baldwin continue to exchange barbs. It's 420 playing 416 and 420 playing 420. Widdus and Baldwin. This is on in earnest. This is extraordinary stuff right to the very end here. This is Tyson Broad in 26, trying to get by Jack Andrews in 25th, and Jack Widders is in behind them about 10 seconds further down the road. The leaders are approaching. We've got 3 laps to go. Damon Woods is 3 from home at Winton, and that's a moment on the OG Gear replay, and not for the first time as Broad comes up the outside. Oh, and now the inside as well. Hip and shoulder. Fed some ripple strip, fed some gravel, and here comes Damon Woods. Oh, hold your breath.
He's gone.
He's gone all right, but Broad has safely let Woods go through. Stewart will have the same courtesy fall upon him, hopefully. Broad doesn't need to worry too much for the moment because Jack Andrews has dropped behind.
Oh, I'm wondering if the stewards are going to... I think he wants to give up that position. Yep,
Yeah,
smart heads up race. I was just about to say, if the stewards look at that and he gets a penalty, that's going to cost him big time. Oh, he's in the marble, so he's going to lose another spot.
Yep. This is all going pear-shaped for Broad. Andrews gets by. That's like traffic or lead traffic that's got through, so don't worry too much about that. Broad is showing 26th at the moment. What does that do for the points? We'll find out. Oh, geez.
So he's safe by 4 points, but he did exactly what he needed to do. There could have been a drama there with the stewards, and they would have looked at that. If he'd got a penalty, the smart thing to do was just to roll out and give that position back. It's exactly what he's done, and for the moment, he's 4 points to the good.
Wowee. What drama, and it's going right. It's not the drama we probably anticipated tonight, but it's enough to keep it interesting. Going right down to the final 2 laps. 2 to go at Winton, 6 kilometres. Here comes Stenberg all over the back of Postlethwaite, trying for the up and under. But if there's one guy that you want to try and get past at Winton, it's not Glenn Postlethwaite, because he's got enough real world as well as sim world experience at this venue to drive a defensive line and keep that car of his as wide as possible and make it near impossible and difficult beyond belief for Stenberg to find a way through. They've got enough breathing space over Gaderick, but it's only a couple of seconds. A lap and a half to go.
I'm nervous for Stenny. He doesn't need to do anything. He can finish exactly where he is. I know the team would obviously be in his ear. The last 2 weeks, we've seen what Kirk Stenberg is all about. He's obviously got pace on his side, and unfortunately, we see drama. That's the 11 for Ryan Jones.
Now, what does that do to the points as he drops down to 23rd?
Yes, I was touching on before we get away from this is that Stenberg had a rough couple of opening 2 races, wasn't in his rig. He's having a good run. He just needs to finish where he's at now.
The white flag's in the air. Last lap ball, one more time around at Winton, ladies and gentlemen. Round 4, the 4th and final one, the 67th and final lap thereof of the qualification series for the Logitech V8 Pro Invitational for 2025. And Damon Woods has been faultless tonight. Hugely impressive. Job Stewart, oh geez, how unlucky can you be?
Ooh.
It was make it or break it tonight for him. It was win or bin. Unfortunately, second is not going to be good enough for him.
Isn't it amazing when you say to someone, how did you go last night? Oh, I finished second. Oh, that's bloody awesome, mate. Well done. Yeah, unfortunately, it wasn't enough to get the biscuits. But that's the season that he's had, unfortunately, where P2 isn't going to be enough. That 2-second margin is just too much to overcome at this stage. And as long as Damon Woods keeps it on the black stuff, he's going to come away with a win. But not only the win, it's a golden ticket straight into the championship.
This will be 3 on the trot for Eclipse Sim Sports. They're going to be a force to be reckoned with once the season proper commences. Last turn, checkered flag. Damon Woods, victorious at Winton in emphatic style. Takes the checkered flag, salutes the judges, first across the post. Job done. Golden ticket secured. Damon Woods, welcome to the big dance.
Oh,
Second to Stewart, third to Pereira, fourth to Postlethwaite, just holding off for Stenberg, and Dennis Gaderick's going to come home in 6th with lap traffic left, right and centre there, Sam, man.
His heartbreak for Job Stewart. Did everything right tonight, but unfortunately just didn't get the job done. He needed to win to get in for the way his qualifying series went. So you got a feel for Joe, but a terrific drive for Damon Woods.
Can we just say as well, round of applause to all and sundry. I mean, 67 laps around what is the tightest, most arduous and challenging circuit on the tour of the 4 races we've had, and we went safety car free.
Yeah.
Exemplary driving standards from all and sundry. Yeah, sure, a couple of little incidents for race control to have a look at, Sam Man, but nothing terminal, nothing that triggered a safety car.
On screen, Ben Faulkner. If we're going to check out those live points, I think he may have done enough to get in. He'll cross the line.
We'll have a look in a moment. Betty Faulkner's going across the line in 21st. Now, he was right on that brink, wasn't he? Teetering on the brink of uncertainty. Let's have a look.
He's in.
Oh, no, he's not. Unless it's on a count back with Tyson Broad. Now, how does that count back work? More to the point, it's Tyson Broad and Ben Faulkner tied on 416. Widders and Baldwin tied on 420. Serrano and Stenberg tied on 444. There are locked and squared affairs all over that leaderboard, ladies and gentlemen. It's extraordinarily tight.
Oh, wow.
Does Broad go home or does Faulkner? That will be for the judges to decide.
Wow. We knew it was
Because
going to come down to the wire.
I don't think they're going to be courteous or gracious enough to extend the field to 46.
No, unfortunately, they're going to have to work it out. So it's going to be a count back. It's going to come to some very interesting stats.
Are you kidding me? Damon Woods joins Emily Jones, Cody Deep, Dylan Burst on the winners list. Eclipse SimSport sweep the final 3 rounds of the campaign. Job Stewart, unlucky, will be on the outer, but recruited as a co-driver, no doubt. And I know that the powers that be behind us are already going to be chipping away, hopefully, in the hope of being able to give us an answer to that tied equation at the end of the broadcast. But in the meantime, Job Stewart, unlucky. Dylan Pereira, unlucky. A great fight back. He's going to pole vault up the order, but not far enough to be in the fight. Glenn Postlethwaite, Kurt Stenberg, Dennis Gaderick. Also, what might have been, had not been for the dropout earlier in the season. Hayden Veld, Matty Bowler, Kobe Williams, Teo Serrano, the top 10. We look over the page, 2.356, the winning margin. The tightest winning margin of the season was Motorsport, of course. Lachlan Cable, Wayne Burke, not a straightforward night for him either. Jacob O'Reilly, same can be said. Brian Borg, Sean McNamara, another hard charger award with thanks to OG Gear for Sean McNamara, I think if my maths served me correctly. Andre Youssef, Jake Blackhall, Bradley Ratu, Rain Campbell, unlucky. Watch for him in the GT3 series. And Corey Preston, the top 20. We had 24 get home on the league lap. The last was Brady Baldwin. Ahead of him, Ben Faulkner, Andrew Dyson and Ryan Jones. Also, throw Andrew Dyson into the mix of those that didn't have a straightforward night. So too Jack Andrews. Tyson Broad was a lap down. So too Jack Widdis, Tice Hodge, Anthony Visma and Damon Mulqueen. Unlucky for Damon. Brenton Hobson, Christopher Island, Dylan O'Shea was the first 2 laps down. Sebastian Vandal 5 laps down. Josh Horton 7 laps down and put a line through the rest of them. Michael Talianich and Daniel Benefield, the only 2 retirements tonight that we're aware of. Brenton Hobson a lap down. And unfortunately, that was the writing on the wall for that was that lap 1 incident, whatever damage, not lap 1, but early race incident, whatever the damage might have been there. Boys, it was enough to terminate his chances of having a crack at getting the golden ticket with a W. He gets the golden ticket anyway, but he would not be overly pleased with that finishing order in the point standings, considering that he was right at the pointy end of the points ledger going into the night. So Hobbo, lucky that he had a buffer to play with, lucky that he had breathing space, but nevertheless, he'll be licking the wounds tonight. Damon Woods is going to join us for a chat here, and I'm sure that Sam Man and I have both got questions for him. Sam Man, lead me off, because Eclipse SimSport, they've done it 3 weeks on the trot.
Yeah, congratulations, Damon Woods. That was a brilliant drive. There was nothing in it all night. You'd obviously be thrilled to get the win, but a brilliant effort from the whole team, the Eclipse SimSport team.
Yeah, I mean, ideally it should have happened round 1, round 2, and round 3, but we've still taken 3 out of 4, which we can't complain about. Tonight, just executed the strategy perfectly. We got a little bit of traffic in the middle of the middle of the race, which, I mean, it was okay, but we kept our heads cool and played it right, and we executed at the end.
That was a pressure all night, mate, because there was pretty much nothing in it between you and Job for the entire night. You all had your different battles as far as a little bit of traffic in front of you with the likes of Stenberg and that with pit stops, but it was you and Job Stewart almost nose to tail for the entire night.
I mean, to be honest, there's probably a little bit less pressure in this race than in all the other ones, considering I didn't have to drive from last to back up to whatever position. So it was a much more calm night. I made a couple little errors which I need to refine before going into the main game. But to be honest, pressure-wise, it was just run my own race, keep my eyes forward, and don't make any crucial errors where we bowl it off the track, or as we saw in Hockenheim, make an error in the pit lane. So I'm happy.
Zach, any questions for our race winner for round 4 here at Winton?
Yeah, Woodsy, it's interesting. I mean, I've seen your exploits in GT3 racing before, but nice to see you on the top step of the summit tonight in the supercars, mate. Well done. Congratulations. Great drive. Faultless. It didn't necessarily need to be a W tonight, but it guarantees the ticket all the same. The stable's looking very strong with you now added to it. Guaranteed to start on the main grid come March 26th for the 12 rounds ahead. How much are you looking forward to it?
Look, to be honest, unfortunately, the GT3 side of things, doesn't have much of a competitive side in Australia. So, look, ideally, I'd be running GT3 only. But Supercars has been very big, especially since the inception of the Logitech Pro Series. So, it was about time, Dylan, Cody, and myself made the jump from being purely GT3 drivers and having our exploits in that, and hopped across the Supercar. So, it'll be a learning experience. We've already had some ups and downs with the qualifying series. So, we'll look to get all the niggles out early and then try and maximise when we come to the main game, and hopefully stick it to some of the renowned names in the supercars community.
You've already just given me a couple of questions that I want to fire at our expert commentator, Sandman, in just a few moments in the wrap-up, mate, with your comments just now. It's interesting, isn't it? We look at Winton, we think, oh, geez, tight, technical, challenging, maybe not necessarily the best track for racing, but by gee, the qualifying session was intense. The racing, you couldn't afford to make a mistake tonight. You had Job Stewart, you had Dylan Pereira, all ready to breathe down your neck. Talk me through the heart and mouth moment of the second round of pit stops there.
Look, as soon as we saw Dylan box, we knew we were going to be in the next lap. So it was just, all processional, just keep it going. And then, unfortunately, Stenny kind of overcooked it going into the lane. And look, I tried to make as little contact as possible, but I had Joe up my trumpet and he was pushing me through it as well. So I couldn't really do too much. Just, try and keep the car as straight as possible and minimize, I guess, the effect to the other car as well. I didn't want to get a penalty for that. I don't think I would have, but it was a bit of a heart and mouth moment, but kept it cool. Didn't end up losing too much out of it. I think Dylan definitely caught being an outlap with new tyres, and we're having a poor run through the entry to the pit lane. So, but we got through it and we ended up coming out in front, and we just managed the race from there.
You mentioned the real world, the transition from Gen 2 to Gen 3, mate. That's obviously been a great challenge for the sim racing community that the real world competitors have had for the last 2 years now. They haven't brought the Gen 3 cars to Winton yet. Just talk me through the challenges of these cars on this circuit, especially given that the tyres were a big part of the narrative tonight.
Yeah, I mean, having a 2-second tyre delta is quite hard to try and work around, because obviously the undercut's going to be very, very strong. We actually found, the overcut with Job in the middle stint was quite good as well, but I think the undercut was definitely more powerful, especially if you had at least 2 or 3 laps on the car in front. So, look, it was all about minimizing tyre wear, especially in the first stint with a heavy car. Trying to get to as far into the race as you can, so you can maximize your fuel strategy, which we did. But yeah, the setup was compromised. Just trying to maximize power down, especially out of the cleavage. But yeah, if it was cool attempts, I think it would have been a very different story. Would have been able to push a lot harder throughout the race and see a lot less tyre saving. But in the end, it's supercars racing, and tyre saving's part of the game. And if you can't do it, then you're going to be nowhere.
4 intense weeks of racing done. How do you take stock of all of that for the next 4 weeks, and how do you spend the next 4 weeks preparing for the next big assignment, which is round 1 of the series proper at Sebring, mate, knowing that the top 20 from last year, plus the 3 winners from the first 3 weeks, plus the golden ticket winner from the co-driver race last year, are all sitting there waiting to welcome you to the party?
I think we'll be all right. I'm not afraid to get my elbows out if that's how they want to welcome us to the series. So,
yep.
Coming from a real life racing background, and karting as well. It's always pretty brutal in terms of racing in competitive grids. So yeah, if that's how they're going to welcome me, then there might be some return serves. But in the end, that's not how I want to race. But yeah, if I'm going to get rubbed the wrong way, I'm going to rub them the wrong way back. So that's how it's going to be.
Indeed. Have I left anything out here, Sam, man, or should we just get the race winner to thank who he needs to thank?
Yeah, I reckon Damon needs to thank everyone else, and
he
he can go celebrate with his team.
Well, I mean, yeah, big thanks to the boys at Eclipse, Cody, Dylan, and Kobe for their hard work as well. Big shout out to some of the boys behind the scenes that we can't really fully announce yet, but they've been putting in heaps of work, and yeah, can't thank them enough. The Logitech crew for putting on these events and putting on this championship. It's fantastic. Good to have some seriously competitive racing in Australia, and yeah, got to thank OG Gear as well, Lutsu Drive Performance, and 5-6 Sim Coaching as well.
Actually, he just fueled 2 more questions from me very quickly, because I know we're up against it time-wise here. Longer race tonight being Winton and the slower average speed. But I want to ask you 2 quick ones. You mentioned you can't mention names. I respect that. I appreciate why. But now that you've got your 3 main drivers into the big show, where does that leave you with regards to co-drivers? That's number 1. And number 2... number 2 is, you mentioned GT3 racing, the depth of it, the competitiveness not necessarily stacking up here in Australia compared to the supercars, but will we see you pre-qualify and maybe have a dabble in the ASRG offering?
Well, I mean, we already got the golden ticket for winning OSR 12 hour, so Dylan, Cody and I are locked in for GT Pro.
Excellent.
And co-driving wise, we've got some in the background which would be good. Look, we don't have the pick of the bunch, because obviously all the boys that we would have probably picked are racing in main series this year, so it does shorten the list, but I think we've got some strong boys that will be able to capitalise and hopefully keep it clean when we come to enduro season.
And that's exactly why I asked the question, mate, because there will already be a few people that you're racing up against tonight. Unfortunately, our next 2 guests are part of that predicament, whereby the conversations with who's going to co-drive with who and can we lock you in for the enduros are already underway. So that's exactly why I wanted to answer the question, and you answered it exactly as I imagined you would. Damon, great to catch up, mate. Congratulations. Well done. Faultless drive tonight. Look forward to seeing you on the grid for the big one at Sebring when the main championship gets underway in a month.
Cheers, boys. Hopefully we'll be speaking to you throughout the year.
And it's interesting, Sam, man, as we go to our next guest, and I'll let you lead us off here as well, what you said during the commentary, and you're absolutely spot on. The guys that are in the championship and they're safe, even though they didn't necessarily need to win tonight to guarantee their golden ticket, it wasn't going to stop them from pulling out all stops to get that W on the board. As Damon said, he felt as though it was 2-3 weeks overdue for him, and he did not necessarily care about those that were on the bubble or on the outer that desperately needed that golden ticket, and unfortunately, that's where we lead to with our next guest, Job Stewart.
Yeah, Job, it's a bit of congratulations, but commiserations at the same time. You drove a great race, and as Zach touched on, it would have been nice if Damon had given you that given that win, just if you could get the job done for that golden ticket, but it wasn't the case, unfortunately.
Yeah, for sure. That was definitely one of the most fun and hardest races I've ever done. It felt like it was going forever. But yeah, it kind of sucks just to, not be able to get into the main series for another year. Like I've unfortunately missed out on two rounds in the qualifying series, which kind of put me on the back foot. So yeah, I did need a win tonight, but yeah, it doesn't really matter. At least I'll still have a bit of a crack with someone, hopefully for the Enduro season in the main series.
You beat me to it, mate. I was going to say you should be hot property come the Enduros. It was a hard luck story to miss out this season, but you can hang your hat on what you achieved tonight. Winton's not one of the easiest race tracks, and it was nose to tail between you and Damon for the whole race.
Yeah, for sure. It was especially through the middle stint, like there was four of us all together, and then I didn't really know how it was going to play out on fuel strategy. I honestly thought I might have got him because I had a bit of a longer first stop. But no, he just came out in front, and I think I kind of cooked my tyres trying to stay with him in that final stint. But yeah, it was a fun race overall, and yeah, I'm sad I'm going to miss out.
You should be proud of yourself tonight, mate. You drove really well. We're looking forward to seeing you in the Enduros. Before I let you go, just in case, Zach, you want to have a word with our second place getter tonight and Job Stewart?
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, Job, it was brilliant to see you out there, mate. The second stint was very processional, follow the leader. We were probably sitting on edge waiting for a safety car that didn't fall our way. At what point in the third stint, mate, knowing that you were about half a second to a second behind Damon, you were there within striking distance, you made a little mistake that invited you back into the fight. At what point did you kind of realise that it was a foregone conclusion that he wasn't going to be reachable?
Yeah, probably in the first 5 laps of that stint, I was thinking it was going to be tough, and then he did make that little mistake and brought me back within like half a second or whatever. But then, yeah, I was still trying to save my tyres at that point, but then he was just trying kind of gaffing me like a tenth or so per lap. And yeah, as I said, I just cooked my tyres, trying to keep up with him in that early stage of that last stint. So yeah, probably only like 10 laps in was when I realised it was going to be pretty tough unless he made a big mistake or whatever.
And I guess now we have a chat about what comes up for you. The Evolution Racing team, no doubt, you'll turn your focus and attention towards the Enduros at the back end of the season, hoping to play a role in somebody else's success there, and of course maybe secure an Enduro Cup yourself, mate. It's not lost on anybody how competitive those 3 races are going to be, of course, but in the meantime, what keeps you busy as far as the sim racing is concerned?
I've just signed up for the GT Pro Series, and we did pre-qual last night for that, so I'll be looking forward to jumping in there with Ethan Griggold and Matt Bowler over the course of the next few months. So that'll be a pretty fun there, and then apart from that, not really sure, might just have to wait until the end of the year and jump in with one of the ERT boys. There's already obviously Ethan Griggold in there from last year, and there's a few other guys in the qualifying series as well who are pretty quick that have jumped up. So yeah, I guess we'll have to wait and see.
Any insight into which way you're leaning with regards to the manufacturer that you're going to field in that particular offering?
Not really. I mean, in the 12-hour, obviously, we saw that it was pretty much just the Acura, so that's going to be pretty popular going into the GT Pro. But I think with the different BOP, there's plenty of cars to choose from, so we haven't really made our mind up yet. But yeah, I guess we'll figure it out.
All right, mate. Hey, faultless drive tonight. Great to see you out there. Well done. But commiserations on not being able to secure one of those golden tickets. Hopefully, third time lucky next year.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate it.
But don't forget, before you go, Job, give a big shout out to everyone who helps you get a job done tonight.
Yeah, for sure. Just big thanks to Evolution Racing team. Obviously, they've worked pretty hard over the past few weeks at this series and everything else we do, and they're a great bunch of guys, and I enjoy working with them. So, yeah, just thanks to them and our main sponsor, Logitech.
Well done, Job. Commiserations tonight, and no doubt we'll see you throughout 2025. But until we talk to you next time, all the best, buddy.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
So second place, Job Stewart, and in third we catch up with Dylan Pereira. Dylan, it was a bit of a difficult night as well. You were in the position as well with Job where you needed to win and get the job done. Unfortunately, P3 for you tonight. Tell us about your night.
Yeah, it was going to be a long shot to win the race with the caliber of drivers in the series, but I was always going to give my best go, and it was a bit of a surprise to find myself in P1 after qualifying. Obviously got the benefit of the conditions in the first half of the group as well. Got a bit of wheel spin off the grid, so that wasn't great, but didn't mind following Job and Damon anyway, and it was clear that they had a bit more pace, so I felt like third place was probably the best I could do. So yeah, really proud of the drive. Bit bittersweet though, because I've just missed out, but I'll look forward to hopefully getting an enduro seat.
Hard, isn't it? When you walk away with a podium position, but like you said, you just miss out on the biscuits. It's it's a tough one, but I guess it would have been, regardless of what racetrack we went to, you needed sort of the cards to fall your way and have a little bit more luck with people having some bad luck, I guess, throughout the rest of the field.
Yeah, and I didn't help myself. Round one, qualifying fourth and then sitting fifth, sixth half in the first half of the race and then blowing an engine. So it was a long way back from there, but had a good result round two, and then round three had a bit of bad luck, and then just didn't keep my head down and net some extra points. Finishing last wasn't ideal. So yeah, it is what it is. I think good development from my end, and really enjoying my time at SSR.
Good way to bounce back, mate, and keep your head up. It was a good drive tonight, Zach. Before we let him go, a quick word.
Absolutely. It was always going to be a long shot, mate. But at one point there, we were looking at the points, and you were only 18 or 20 away. It was the difference between, I guess, third and first, and maybe also a little bit of attrition that had been a factor in the previous rounds, but didn't play a part tonight. How proud are you, though, of the fact that even though you've fallen just short, you did everything that you needed to do, that you could possibly do, that was within your control to give yourself the best possible chance?
Yes, super proud, and the guys have been really encouraging despite this disappointment of not making the series. I think I've shown decent pace here and there, but done my best work in practice or qualifying, so it's good to get a good result in the race.
Indeed, and I know we're going to let you thank a couple of people in a moment, mate, but what do you turn your attention towards now within the Synergy Sim stable before, no doubt, we see you fielding, playing a role, I should say, as a co-driver in their Enduro campaign later in the year?
Well, it's just been a blast spending time with the guys and doing practice and helping with the setup and churning laps. So I think I'll just support the guys in the main series, and then if I can get a drive in Enduros, that would be awesome. Otherwise, for my own racing, I think I'll turn to Scops most likely.
All right, mate, and we wish you the very best for the rest of the campaign, whatever happens, whatever you throw your hat into, and we look forward to seeing you on the grid for the Enduros later in the season. Mate, anyone you want to thank on the way out the door?
Yeah, absolutely. So thank you to the guys at Synergy Sim Racing and its sponsors, Watercraft Performance Centre, Sud Speed, Elisco AI, Works Racing Components, and Dr. Epoxy.
All right, mate. Dylan Pereira, everybody. Well done, mate. Congratulations. Great results in terms of the race. Did everything you could, left nothing on the table. Good luck for the rest of 2025, and bad luck on missing out on a golden ticket here.
Thank you very much. Cheers.
Sam, man, in the final wash of things, I dare say, because we've got the slide up showing the next bit of information that's coming away on the platforms of SimSpeed, that we're getting the wind up here, but I do have a couple of final questions for you. Don't forget, folks, it's only a month away. It will come around very quickly. The countdown already on. The opening round of the Logitech V8 Pro Invitational Series coming to you live from the Sebring International Raceway, Wednesday, March 19, 7:45 Eastern Daylight Time. Our commentary colleague, Scott Rankin, has graced us with his presence in the commentary box. We're going to get an insight into just how Darren Lockyer-esque he's sounding once we get off air here, I'm sure. And then 2 nights later, in what is an enormous week for the platforms of the Australian Sim Racing Group and also SimSpeed, we will take you to the Daytona International Speedway in Daytona Beach, Florida. Friday, March 28th, that should be. That is the first of 6 rounds in the GT3 Pro Series. Round 1 will be from Daytona, and we're looking forward to that. The series calendar for that has already been published. We're off to Fuji, we're off to Spa, we're off to a couple of other big venues as well, including a finish at Mount Panorama just 2 nights before the Bathurst 1000 for the 2025 V8 season, and looking forward to that immensely. So, I mean, Spa in there in July. There's also Circuit of the Americas as well, if you don't mind. So some really big tracks coming up, but that will be the first stop, the Daytona International Speedway, home of the Rolex 24 and the Daytona 500, which have already been come and went so far this season. It's getting away from us, Sam, man. I've got a couple of questions for you before we go, mate. With regards to tonight, the final washer tonight, huge night for the likes of Damon Woods and also Glenn Postlethwaite, Kurt Stenberg. They've all got their golden ticket there in. The hard luck stories, there are plenty of them as well. Dennis Gaderick, of course, Dylan Pereira, Job Stewart, just to name a few. How lucky are you, though, if you're someone like Brenton Hobson, who didn't have a clean run but had enough points in the bank? It's been a lot to absorb and a lot to take on board. I think the guys are going to be very happy that this one's behind them. It's been come and went, but there will be a few that are no doubt licking their wounds in a race that held our breath and held our imagination from first until last, but had nowhere near as much attrition as we might have been anticipating.
Yeah, it's something that I touched on throughout the broadcast, risk versus reward. There were some people out there that couldn't afford to push the envelope too much because that would automatically take them out of the running for a chance at 2025. We've seen some amazing racing. This qualifying series really hasn't let us down one bit. Every week has been something to talk about. A brilliant race from Winton tonight. Commiserations to the teams and drivers that missed out, and congratulations to the lucky few that have made it through. We're going to have a massive 2025 season, and the Logitech V8 Pro Series is really going to go ahead in leaps and bounds. I have no doubt about that.
Stay across the platforms of the Australian Sim Racing Group, ladies and gentlemen, the V8 Pro Invitational Series page, the Logitech V8 Pro Invitational Series page, for more information with regards to the calendar. I saw a draft that looks very different to the one that's going to go public in a couple of days' time, so I'm glad that we didn't divulge that information tonight. But do keep your eyes peeled to find out where and when we're going to, what that Enduro Cup looks like. And all I can tell you is that Bathurst will be the same weekend as the GT3 finale at the same venue, and what will be an enormous weekend for these platforms. Sam, man, the other thing as well, if you're that top 20 plus the 4 golden ticket holders that were sitting back watching on tonight, who are you most threatened by? Who poses the biggest threat to you in an automatic place on the grid next year? And who out of the 20 that have gained their golden ticket tonight might just step up to the plate and get that automatic qualification after 12 rounds this season for next year? Because it's always something to keep an eye on. It's always a compelling aspect of proceedings here. The improvers, the movers and shakers year on year. And I have no doubt that we're going to see that again.
Yeah, Zach, I'm going to do my best impression of sitting on the fence because we are going to see some amazing racing throughout 2025, and it's just so hard to call. We've had a different championship winner each year, and no doubt this field is going to get stronger and stronger, and I already can't wait to get to round one. I wish it was tomorrow night.
All right, I will let you sit on the fence for the moment. We'll remove the splinters a little bit later on. Thank you very much, though, for having me along tonight and keeping the seat warm with me for Scott Rankin and everybody else that's going to return in the next few weeks, Bo Albert included. Looking forward to joining up forces, teaming up with you again at some point later in the season, mate. But thanks for nursing me through this one tonight.
Thanks, mate. Yeah, appreciate you stepping in. Hoping Scotty is feeling a little bit better. We'll have a chat to him a little bit later. But yeah, until next time, Zach, thanks for stopping by. It's been great to have you on board.
It's been terrific to be here for the Logitech G Pro V8 Invitational Qualifying Series done and dusted, ladies and gentlemen. We sincerely hope that you've enjoyed it as much as we've enjoyed bringing it to you across the course of the last 22 days. 4 rounds, 4 different countries, 4 compelling races that held our breath from first until last. 4 different winners with golden tickets, and now the other 20 have been decided as well, although we still have no word coming through our earpieces to that sudden death tiebreaker for 20th. So keep an eye out on socials for that in the coming days as well. We'll just make those two sweat a little bit more throughout the course of the rest of the night. It's been great fun to bring it to you, with thanks to all the people that make it possible here, of course, including our commercial partners at SimSpeed and the Australian Sim Racing Group. And of course, it would be remiss of me not to mention Playseat, the Gamesman, and also OG Gear and Motorsport Australia as well. The qualification is done. The pre-season has come and gone. Now we turn our focus and attention to the big dance. 12 rounds await. It starts a month from today, and it promises to be one hell of a roller coaster ride once more on the road, on the path to determine who will be the winner of the Logitech G V8 Pro Invitational Series for 2025. And as I say, another enormous week on the platforms of the Australian Sim Racing Group and SimSpeed as well, that opening week, because we'll have the first round of the GT3 Pro Invitational Series as well. More details on that in the coming days. We know the calendar already. We know the makeup of the schedule, but what we don't know is the final makeup of the grid, because the pre-qualifying wraps up tonight. So keep an eye on social platforms tomorrow and Friday to work out who has made the cut and who is going home. We sincerely hope that you've enjoyed the last few hours as much as we've enjoyed bringing it to you. From all the crew here, a very good evening to you on behalf of Scott Rankin, Bo Albert, and also Sandman Stephen Clark, the #1 ticket holder of the Brisbane Heat, Jay Kennedy and the broadcast and production and commentary team, and our crew in race control and at admin level at the Australian Sim Racing Group. From Winton Motor Raceway, where Damon Woods has taken victory over Job Stewart and Dylan Pereira, I'm Zach Caban, wishing you a very good night. We look forward to your company that final week of March for the opening round of both the V8 Pro and GT3 Pro series. Until then, have a great evening, everybody. Bye for now.
The Racing Series is a new milestone in Logitech G.
All the great old wheels, the G29, the G920, the G923, they all have their own unique way of connecting to each other, but there's no room for expansion with those products.
So the question arose was, what if we were to give the opportunity for the racer to switch out from a drifting wheel to a GT rim?
With the wheel hubs that we've created, that's got a very specific button set, but you can replace any of the steering wheels.
And the real lovely aspect to this was we could give the user, driver and the racer the opportunity to experience different genres of race.
That allows drivers to craft high quality, customized setups that resonate with your individual racing style.
When we start with the design, we always start sketching. But very often, once we've got sketches, we start discussing with engineering.
We had 3 rounds of engineering testing or user testing where we invited in users from sim racing, and every single round of feedback we refine, the product based on what they tell us.
In the sim racing lab, again, we're going to use data to really analyze what a driver needs. We've used everything from eye tracking to the inputs from the pedals, the inputs from the, let's just say, input devices, the wheel and the pedals, the shifter. We're taking that and we're compiling it so that we can build different products based on those individuals' needs for all consumers and all drivers.
I don't know of anyone else in the industry that's actually doing this kind of research into their products to see how their products are affecting performance of their users.
We've built the product to make sure that it's as reliable as possible.
So the innovations in engineering that I'd say we're most proud of is the sequential handbrake and shifter toolless changeover. This is now a patented system, so it's really easy for the user to just switch between modes.
If you give people the tools to do what they want, they will.
They will just go off and have fun.
Weekend in, weekend out, Motorsport Australia officials are making waves. From waving flags, waving cars through pit lane, or responding to a wave for help. Wave hello to new lifelong friends. Who knows, you might just make waves around the world. Ride the first wave. Search Motorsport Australia officials today.
Hi, I'm Brendan Leach, driver of the number 7 Audi R8 for NPC Audi Custom Racing. First impressions of OG gear on the sim, fantastic. It feels really nice in your hands and doesn't gather up under your fingers. The sock, very breathable for me. I get sweaty feet when I'm on simulator. I know that's not the nicest thing to say. It has just the right amount of grip because your feet do just naturally move around on the pedals a little bit, and I like the way that they give you that freedom but also give you that stability that you need.
We are gaming fanatics. Our goal has never been to just play games. We think it's much better to feel like you're actually in the game. This feeling is what drives us as we create world-class gaming chairs. Our one aim, give you a brand new gaming experience. Help you move in perfect sync with everything on screen. Make sure you're having a ton of fun. It took us decades to achieve this, and we're still not satisfied. Every day, we wake up to get better. We'll never stop designing the very best to help you be your best. When it's all said and done, our job's only done if you're in full flow and focused on your victory. May you win, and win big.